Well, hello there. I am Taylor, and you are listening to the Surviving Maine podcast. And today I am having a very sad conversation with the sixth member of the jury, the person voted out in episode 13, my wife, Becky. I hope you watched the episode before you started listening to this, because that's a spoiler. So this interview I did with Becky, this was what got the whole podcast thing started. Becky wanted to record all of her memories from this experience, and she didn't feel like writing it down. So she was like, why don't you just interview me and I will just talk, you record. And so we did this whole thing. We talked for over an hour. And she barely got through day 2. I don't even think she got through to the swap. And she had talked for an hour. So this is going to be a long one, because that day that we started doing this, we only had about an hour. And then we had to be somewhere. This is in June 2019, just a few days after the whole thing happened. So we never got back to it, but it did give me the idea that I should interview everybody else and give them their own podcasts that I would release, at the same time as the episodes were coming out, having no clue that I was going to be making the episodes eventually. I thought I was just going to be doing this silly podcast where everybody gets to talk about their experience. So in this first hour of this podcast, Becky talks a lot about a lot of things that you didn't get to see because they happened off camera. She talks about a challenge that was completely cut from the show because it didn't work out, and she talks about that. It was the very first challenge they did. She talks about what really happened with the idol. She talks about a secret with what happened with the first player voted off. I think actually I talk about that. The first player voted off may have been smuggled some contraband. We talk about that. There's a lot. And then after that, I'm going to record a new interview with Becky on her thoughts now that she has seen all of the episodes, except for the finale, which is not finished yet. So here's a long one. First, let's hear what other people have to say about Becky. Here are Liza's thoughts.
So Becky was one of my win picks out of 2. And, I expected her to play the game similarly to how I would have played, or how I play in other games, is that, you do your best not to be the worst, and then you're also not the best, except for when it comes to fire making challenges. And Becky, she killed it every time she had to make fire. I mean, except for the time that it mattered.
Yeah.
She, had it within seconds. Yeah, and 2, I think that her soft-spoken side was really helpful for her in that for most of her game she wasn't the target, and that she was able to kind of hide behind those people who were outspoken and loud and very easy targets, which helped her out. Yeah, and then she made relationships and played strategically, using her idols, and yeah.
One of her 2 winner picks. Who's the other? I think we'll find out soon. Here is Tricky's thoughts on Becky.
In the challenge where we're doing the nets, I had talked to Becky, and I was just joking around. I had started to feel the heat coming on, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just clown them around a bit. Maybe that'll cheer me up. And so we're standing at our post. We're getting ready to run out and grab the balls with the nets, and I'm like, and I go up to Becky. I'm like, it's nice to meet you. Sorry we couldn't meet under different circumstances. Hopefully we'll get to talk later. And I will say, Becky, I feel like out of all the skitters, Becky I thought was the most charming.
So charming, in fact, that it even rubbed off on Cam. Here's what Cam has to say.
Patrick had vouched for Becky from a prior challenge. It was the slingshot challenge where like we all had butterfly nets trying to capture the things. Every challenge we were trying to get like intel on the other thing. So after every challenge we would come back and be like, oh, I like had a quick conversation with this person, or oh, like I got a bad vibe from this person. And Patrick seemed like Becky was the nicest human being out there. Like he was like, oh yeah, we were doing the butterfly together. Like she seems so nice. Like we were chatting and like she might be someone that like, cause we were all kind of looking for someone maybe we could pull if we were down numbers or something like that. So that's what he said. So when I saw the two of them there, I was like, oh, I know something about Becky. I know nothing about Emily. So I picked Becky. I like felt bad about it as soon as I did it because I know that put her at like the 1 instead of the 1 versus the 4. And in the back of my head, I was like, well, we could throw a challenge. We could vote her off. At the same time, assuming we win all these challenges, at least it's someone that maybe I could get to know and work with. Assuming we come in at the wrong numbers, this is someone that now I can talk to that someone has vouched for.
Honestly, very strategically good choice on Cam's part. So here is my first hour. Gosh, this is going to be so long, you guys. Here's the first hour, little over an hour, that I talked with Becky about her experience in the first like 24 to 36 hours of the game. Hi, Becky. Thanks for being here with me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be here. Can you stop? I think I stuttered. I don't like that.
No, you didn't. Hey, Becky. Thanks for being here with me today.
Hey.
I wish that it could be that I was talking to Becky, the winner of Surviving Maine.
Me too.
But alas, how are you holding up?
Right after the game ended, it ended on kind of a bad note for me. It was kind of heartbreaking, and for the next few days after the game ended, I had a lot of regrets and kept like rethinking things that I could have done or should have done. And so it had those like cringe moments of like, oh, if only I had done that.
What are some of those things?
Well, they told me after I got voted out that there was an immunity idol hidden in the voting booth. And I did look, and I looked exactly where it was, but I think I was in such a panic that I didn't see it. So if I had seen it, I would have been immune for that tribal council.
And you're talking about the final 5.
The final 5. Yeah, I made it to final 5, and I could have made it to final 4 if at least final 4 if I had found that immunity idol that was there. Ugh.
Well,
So that was like right after the game ended. Now I'm a little bit better, and it is amazing that I got as far as I did considering the lot that I was given. But yeah.
When the lot that you were given, what do you mean?
So when the game started, we had 2 tribes.
So let's actually just walk through the whole game from the very beginning. Let's talk about when you first arrived in Maine at the location. What happened?
So I was given a time slot of 11:30 to get to the house where we were starting the game. And I got there like 11:25, and everyone was there. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm late. Like, what a great way to start. And I got lined up with my original team, the red team. We were facing like a barn, and we weren't allowed to look at each other or talk to each other. But I think we were all doing that anyway.
You were all looking at each other?
Yeah, I think I got there a little bit later, so I didn't see other people doing it. But like they smiled at me. A couple people smiled at me when I walked up, and I smiled back, and just wanted to see who I would be playing with. Mm-hmm. Checked out the blue team across the way as well, even though I wasn't supposed to be turning around.
What did you think? What were those initial impressions of your Lombard tribe? Wait, that wasn't your tribe. Skitter tribe.
I'm not the kind of person that judges people right away. I usually wait. But there was one person who I later found out her name was Emily. She had like a little bit of an undercut. haircut, and I like that style of haircut, and she seemed like a cool person that I could get along with, so I knew I definitely wanted to talk to her. I know one strategy going into the game that my wife suggested was that I get with the big dudes because they would be winning, in the beginning.
What do you think that strategy would have been about, getting with the big dudes?
I think it's just about, getting in an alliance with people who are going to be winning challenges.
Yeah, no, that's not at all what that's about.
What do you think it's about?
As your wife, I just want to say that when I suggested, hey, get in an alliance with that guy in the black shirt and that other guy.
Which was Justin and John, I think, right?
It was John, okay. I actually
Don't
didn't
remember.
know. I knew that it was Justin, and then I wasn't sure if it was John or Toby.
It may have been Toby, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
You said an older guy, so I figured it was John.
Yeah, I think it was John, yeah. Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, okay. So the reason that I told you to do that is because I thought you would be really good in challenges and you would need a meat shield. And that you would also need to work with people that are not like you at all. Like Emily, who I saw, who smiled at us when we walked up. I was like, oh gosh, that's going to be your number one ally. You better not let anyone know that.
I know.
And you better up front work with these big guys, because
I kind of did that.
You did, but that's not the kind of people that you associate with in real life.
Right.
Okay. Not because I thought they would win challenges.
Okay.
That had nothing to do with anything.
Well, anyways. P.S. I'm treating this like my diary, not as a podcast.
Well, it is your diary.
Obviously.
Okay. Tell me more.
So, just tell you more about what happened. I guess this is my diary, yeah.
Yeah.
So, eventually, after we stood there for a while, the host, Liza, and all the production crew they started to round up the blue team into a car, I think 3 or 4 at a time, and bring them to some undisclosed location. And that took a couple of car trips because there were 9 people, I think, on their team. They were waiting for one more person, but she ended up not showing up. Karen was her name. So once they got the Blue Tribe over there... Was it Blue Tribe first?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Once they got the Blue Tribe over there, I don't know if it was.
It was.
Because the Blue Tribe got lost along the way.
But
okay.
they arrived first.
Okay, wow. Okay, so... Then they collected our team, the red team, and they blindfolded us, and they brought us to an undisclosed location on the side of a road. And when we got our blindfolds off, it was this giant field that we had to walk through, and it wasn't mowed in any way. So I was immediately when they told us to walk through it, I was like, oh my god, we're gonna get ticks. Oh my god, because I'm terrified of ticks. I do everything I can to not get ticks. I am an outdoorsy person, I think, but I also am very wary of ticks. So that freaked me out right away, and I was immediately looking for ticks. But we walked across this large field. There was a lot of production happening, so the camera guy had a drone that he was flying over us most of that time as we were walking. Right before we got to a forest edge, they made us stop for a while. And then eventually we were able to go. And once we got into the forest, there were these roads that were made for driving trucks down. So we were basically walking down this road. I think that's how it was. It had logs strewn across the road as well, but it was a trail of some kind. And we got to this logging camp kind of area that had different structures and stuff. And I'm trying to remember what they had us do. I think we waited at the edge of that little area for a while, and then eventually they took us over to our flag and our little mat, our red flag and our red mat, and we waited for a long time for the blue team. See, they had gone before us, but they still hadn't showed up, and it turned out that they had gotten lost.
They made it to the edge. Well, we'll hear from them in their interviews, but they made it to the edge and then thought that they were lost and turned around. If they had just gone another minute down the road, they would have been at
just around a corner.
But they went all the way back, thinking that they were lost.
And apparently their guide fell and everything. And so, but I think that was a bonding moment for them. They seemed to really bond over getting lost, and that helped their solidarity in the end, I think.
Is that something the Skitter tribe was missing?
Yeah. It was. I think part of that, part of the lack of bonding that we had was that, so let me go back. So we were waiting on the mat. The blue tribe came. I'm having a really hard time remembering the order of events. But eventually, so, Liza was like, these are your teams, take a good look, blah, blah, blah. And then we did a challenge. Was the first challenge the balancing balls?
No. What? Balancing balls?
The golf balls on the...
That was the first individual immunity challenge on day 2 or 3.
Oh my God.
No, it was... They had to... Some of you had to tie sticks together to reach keys on hooks.
Oh, that's
and
right. Okay.
You were doing a bucket.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Okay. So the first challenge, it was team challenges, right? So the first challenge was they had to tie sticks together. So we had like 2 or 3 people tying sticks together in order to reach over this little fence to get some keys. And then once they opened the keys to this water bucket, then they had to take the bucket and throw the water down a relay of people. And like each person would catch the water in their bucket and then throw whatever water they got. And it wasn't working. Like we were so far apart that like all the water was just, wouldn't make it.
Well, that's how it is on the actual show. But the difference between the actual show and what you guys were doing was that there were 6 of you passing water in the bucket.
not like 3.
Not 1 or 2.
Yeah. So eventually we ran out of water and no one had gotten anything into their jar to fill it up. So the host let us take one giant step off of our places, like our little logs we were standing on. So that allowed us to like actually get close to each other so we could actually catch the water. And then our team won.
You were essentially pouring the water
directly into... We weren't throwing it all. No. Yeah. So with that, we were able to win. Our red tribe won.
And this was a reward challenge.
This was a reward
fire.
Yeah, we won a flint and a little fire making kit with like different types of kindling and stuff like that. Birch paper and stuff. And like also some fire starters, yeah. But we didn't have to use the fire starters because somebody made the fire at camp.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
So then you had so at this point, you have gotten together. You know who's on your tribe. Mm-hmm. You know who's on the other tribe. You've done one reward challenge. You still haven't actually really spoken to anyone on your tribe.
Yeah.
Other than coordinating who's going to do what in the challenges.
Right.
And who decided who was doing what in that first challenge?
I'm having a hard time remembering. All along Justin was pretty vocal about like who was going to do what. We worked pretty well. Like it was either Justin or Katie were like who feels comfortable doing what.
Good.
And so I think Forrest was like I'm really good at tying knots or something like that. he really wanted to do the stick.
They did a much better job than the other tribe on that.
They did. Yeah. I don't remember the challenge after that. Can you remind me?
I'm not sure.
Was it the mud challenge? Because I know Justin had to go through some mud.
Well, that was the one where you did the word puzzle.
Was it? Oh my gosh.
Okay, so there was one. Yeah, no, it wasn't that one because you did the other puzzle first.
We won the word puzzle.
You were on the relay and you had the very last portion with Michael where you had to get puzzle pieces and then build the puzzle that was a little like blocks.
That's right.
He found the clue to the immunity idol, which was in the bag of puzzle pieces that someone else had got off the tree in the middle of the field.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, when that happened, it was frustrating because, Michael and I are both, we both proclaimed that we were puzzle people. And so when we lost that, it was frustrating. But also, like you said, there was a note for a hidden immunity idol in the box of the puzzle. And Michael found it, but like I saw it at the same time, like he thought it was like directions or something, and right. I was like, get it out and see, like get out and see. And so he took it out, and he said, "Oh, it's a clue to a hidden immunity idol." And
you just said it out loud in front of everyone.
No, only he and I could hear and see. That the other people weren't close enough to hear. I'm pretty sure. So my immediate thought was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing," and my first thought was like I wanted to be like, "Shh," like keep it, like hold on to it. I wanted to get it myself, honestly, but. I guess my first thought was like, oh man, like why did I make him take it out? I should have taken it out and just put it in my pocket or something. But but he immediately said like, oh, we should share this with the tribe.
Oh God.
And I was like, oh no. He was like, let's just be honest with them.
It was his idea to do that.
Of course, I would never do that. Are you kidding me?
The way that I had no idea. I thought the way that it went down was that everyone just saw him take it out and read it.
Nope. He actively showed people. Yep. He was like, we need to share this with the tribe. And I was like, fuck, no. So I did not want to do that. But that's what we did. And, so we lost that. That was immunity. We lost it. Were there only 2 challenges?
No, there was another one. And that was not immunity. That was, I don't think that was immunity. I think that was the reward.
What was the reward?
Pancake mix.
Oh, that's right. And Blue Team won that.
Yes. And then...
So that was a loss. That sucked.
The challenge after that was the math challenge.
Mm.
And, was that the next day?
That was the next day, after we got into the 3 tribes.
No, it was not after the 3 tribes. No. Math challenge, I mean, when you had to... know the number of seasons that you guys got wrong. You and Michael did the puzzle 47, but it was 74, but you put 47.
Yeah, we spelled 40 wrong.
It didn't matter, but
yeah.
So tell me about, when was the first time you actually started doing any kind of strategizing with the people on your tribe?
Well, that night, so like we lost that challenge, the immunity. We lost the reward for pancakes, and then we lost the immunity challenge.
But in between those things happening, there was a lot of waiting around for them to set up the next challenge, for the camera guy to get his stuff going. There was a lot of waiting around. And someone noticed you go off to get water and then go to the bathroom with Justin. And they said, oh, what's this? Looks like an alliance is forming.
I do remember talking to Justin. I think he may have been the person that I first talked strategy with. Gosh, I'm having such a hard time remembering what we talked about. I think I'll be curious to know what Justin remembers, because I don't remember hardly anything. I want to say that like I told him I felt comfortable with him, or that I wanted to align with him in some way. I think I may have been like we should work together or something. Oh, you know what?
Nope.
I don't know. I do remember talking with him throughout that first day at various times, and I remember telling him that my brother was a Marine because he was in the Marines. It was strategic, but it was also because I knew, I wanted to have some kind of connection with everyone. But it was also just a fact that my brother's in the Marines. Yeah, we did talk something when we went to the bathrooms, but I don't remember. I did go on purpose. I don't remember if he followed me or I followed him, but I remember thinking like this is the perfect time to strategize. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so let's talk about the first time you remember actually doing any strategizing.
So like I said, we lost the immunity challenge, and then we went back to our camp to set up and everything. And we thought maybe we were having the immunity challenge that night.
You mean tribal council?
Yeah, we thought maybe we were having the tribal council that night, but we weren't really thinking much about it. We were mostly just trying to set up camp. Forrest was, climbing trees and cutting down trees and cutting his fingers off and everything. And I know that I had talked with... So Justin and I had done the most talking. I think Emily and I had done some talking. We at least talked about our lives with each other, I think. I remember it was hard to tell if anyone was talking to anyone, because I remember wanting to talk to Toby because Justin said that he had Katie aligned with him. Oh. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I could get Emily, because Emily and I had bonded. And so I was like, okay, that's great. And then Justin also mentioned Toby. And so there had been a lot of like Justin saying stuff about Toby. And I had talked to Katie too. And so I remember being like, I want to talk to Toby to confirm that this is actually happening and that we're on the same page. But he would go off to find some branches, and then he'd like immediately come back to camp, and I just had a hard time going and getting him to talk to him. And then I noticed that like no one was talking to I didn't think anyone was talking to Forrest about strategy, but I didn't want to work with him. Just personality wise, he rubbed me the wrong way, and so I didn't really want to work with him at all.
What do you mean he rubbed you the wrong way?
He's someone who talks a lot and tells a lot of stories and doesn't ask you about you. I'm kind of like Reem. Wait,
explain who that is.
Reem was on the last season of Survivor.
Season 38.
Season 38.
Edge of Extinction.
Edge of Extinction, and she also doesn't appreciate when people only talk about themselves and don't ask you any questions, because I feel like a friendship should be a two-way street, and like you should get to know each other. He just talked about himself all the time, told stories about the various things that he did.
Dude, whatever. I don't care about how many trees you can climb, man. Dude.
You didn't even ask me anything about me. Well, I cannot do a Reem impression right now. Yeah. Whatever, dude. I don't need you in my life. I got people in my life that I care about.
Thank you, no thank you.
Yeah, I don't need you in my life. I don't even care. So, that immediately like just puts me off when people just talk about themselves constantly. I hope that's not whatever. So yeah, that's basically why. And he talked about like being part of the fatherhood rights movement, and it's just like, and being a politician and being part of the Libertarian Party of Maine. And I was just like, okay. Like I looked around, I rolled my eyes and then looked around, and I was like, wait, should I have rolled my eyes? Are other people rolling their eyes? Like maybe this isn't good strategy for being so public about how I feel about this dude. But yeah, so I didn't want to work with Forrest. I thought about working with John, but he was very quiet, and I didn't know what to think about him. He didn't seem like a really nice guy, and he cracked jokes which were funny and witty, but like he didn't talk much at all. And so I noticed that literally no one was talking to Michael. And people had mentioned Michael before about how he really knows the game. He knows all the facts about the game. He's like a super fan, and because he's a super fan, he's gonna be dangerous, and it's always the quiet ones.
Tell me about how utterly ridiculous.
It's absolutely wrong. People said the same thing about Tony, and I'm sorry, Tony, but like Tony was not a threat in any way. Like people were saying that Tony is super smart. He's like a genius and all this stuff, and I was just like, I don't think so. I think people are literally like putting forward what they are. Like, I don't know.
Just the idea that someone could be a huge threat just because they remember things that happened on the TV show Survivor blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, how does that give you any advantage if you literally talk to no one? If you're socially awkward and can't manage to even say hello to someone,
then you're not
eye
working strategy in
contact,
any way.
There's no social game there. Therefore, you have almost no chance of winning if you're able to make it to the end. He also had really not much athletic ability and was really strong in puzzles, which your team may have been lacking. It was you and Michael that were really great at puzzles, and I think Emily showed some strength there
absolutely.
too. Once she was given a chance.
I'm getting some like aches in my neck, the same kind of aches I had like during the Survivor game. It's really weird. Anyways, so Michael, I think ultimately because he was socially awkward, that's one big reason why he got voted out. It may have been the strategy part, but it was also the fact that he didn't talk to anyone.
That was their excuse, was the strategy part.
But I think ultimately it was because he was the odd person out, because he didn't talk to anyone.
If he had been like Katie, who also not only knew a lot about the game, but also had played before.
Right, yeah.
But she was really good socially, so she wasn't a threat.
Yeah. Anyway, so I went up to Michael when he was doing, like, he was, like, picking branches or something, and I was like, I went in there knowing that I shouldn't, like, tell people what to do. I should ask, like, what are you thinking? So I went up to him, and I was like, what are you thinking? And he was like, I don't know. No one's talking to me. And he was, like, freaking out, like, no one's talking to me. And so, he said, "Have you heard my name?" And like I had heard his name, but I said no. And I don't know why. I don't know why I said no. I think like I probably could have said yes, and maybe that would have helped him like be more social.
Yeah.
But part of me was just like, as long as it's not me. I felt like that was the first lie that I did, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just lied. I just lied in Survivor. Oh my God, like why did I do that? And I felt really bad about it. But I just didn't feel like he should know that he was getting voted out, because I was worried that he would like start something with someone, and they would know that it was me who told him,
right.
And then that would have repercussions for me.
Because he's the kind of guy who would start something.
I think
with someone.
so. I think he would freak out a little bit.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I'm being sarcastic.
No. Oh no. I don't think he would have like started anything crazy, but I think he would have been like, "Why are you guys targeting me?" or something something like that.
But this actually wasn't what happened. You all voted out Sam.
Oh my God!
She was the
really?
first person voted out that morning.
Oh my God! You're so right. Well, I mean, all that night it really was Michael the whole time. And then I think I heard John's name. John was very quiet. I talked to John a little bit. I talked to Michael and John a little bit later that night. I was going to the bathroom and they were coming back from the bathroom, and I mentioned to them that I wouldn't mind working with them because I want to get on everyone's good side. And they were like, yeah, if we hear anyone's names, like we'll say whatever, we'll tell each other.
So in your confessionals that night, all of you, Justin, Katie, Toby, and no, not Emily. She wasn't in on the plan yet. But you four said you were voting out Sam.
Really?
All of you said Sam in your confessionals. Emily was saying she wanted Forrest to go out, but then she also brought up Michael. Mm-hmm. But those were the names that I heard: Forrest, Sam, and Michael. But it was Sam. It seemed like definitely you were all voting out Sam.
That could very well be the case. I would love to see those tapes. Because I thought that Sam, and I thought it wasn't until, I think you're right, because like Sam and Jasmine, the blonde Jasmine who was on our team, they were really irritated with Forrest. They did not like him, and they would like respond to him in a way that's like really, dude, like really, you're a pastor, you're a firefighter, like you're an actor, you're a model, like really.
Oh, amazing.
And they would just like shake their heads and be like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy. Like, so that would cause a little tension at the camp because everyone else was pretty content on just letting Forrest like talk and like just not try to make any commotion.
I really wish there had been more cameras at camp that night to catch
I know.
those reactions.
Yep. So there was some talk of her. She also just didn't seem like her kind of thing being outdoors. She seemed really uncomfortable, which we learned later that she got her period, obviously.
Yeah.
So I completely understand. That was one of my worst nightmares was like, what if I got my period on Survivor? Mm-hmm. Thankfully, the day we started the game, that was my last day of my period, so it worked out really well for me. But yeah, and so there was talk of Sam being, kind of trouble for the tribe because of the way she reacted to Forrest and didn't seem to be enjoying herself out there at all. So yeah, Sam was definitely in the mix. But we thought maybe we were having tribal council that night, but we didn't. And yours truly made the fire. That's one thing I had practiced before coming in. And I ended up being pretty good at it. And people let me do it, which was nice of them. I was worried that like the dudes were going to take over, but they didn't. So that was nice.
Were people ever trying to look for idols around camp?
I mean, if they were, it wasn't obvious because I mean, we were all looking for branches. We were all.
Were you looking for idols?
No, it didn't even cross my mind. I'm sure it crossed other people's minds. I'm sure it crossed Michael's mind. I assume. Who knows? But it didn't even cross my mind. I didn't even think about idols. I think I may have thought about it once, but I didn't. Like, there was nowhere to really hide them at the camps, like, because we didn't really have a camp until there wasn't really a camp until we built it. So yeah, then we all sat by the fire. Our camp was very, very small. It was like we had some choices in the camps. I'm going to say whatever I want because I want to remember this is my diary.
You got it.
So we had some choices as to the camps we could have. there was no clearing. Like, we were on this little road, and they told us that we couldn't camp on the road. We had to be off the road. And so, like, there were no clearings. There were, like, those little saplings and trees and stuff all over the place. And so the first place we found was a tiny little clearing that had no trail to it. We had to go through the trees and the branches to get to it, and then we would have had to cut a lot of trees down, and I just wasn't having it, and some other people weren't having it. And so we found this other place, and we thought about that, but once again, you had to go through a bunch of bushes to get to it. So we finally ended up finding this little clearing right on the edge of the road that was way too small for the 10 people that we had. But we, a bunch of people made, it was mostly Justin and a few other people, I'm not sure who, maybe Emily, I'm not sure, who made a little lean-to for us. And then I made the fire. We all brought a bunch of rocks over to make the fire pit. And then we put some like pine needles down to make it comfy. And that night, I remember saying this in a confessional. It was Justin, Toby, Katie, and me, and John ended up squeezing on the edge. It was those 5 people on like inside the lean-to, and everyone else was outside. And I thought that was kind of telling because of the alliances that I thought were forming were like, you know, those people. So like Michael, Jasmine, Sam, Emily. Oh no, Emily. I think Emily was in. I think Emily came in. Yeah. Either way, I thought it was kind of telling who was in and who was out. I don't know if it was on purpose or just coincidence or what, but it was interesting. Yeah. And it was pretty quiet that night because we knew we had a tribal council coming up the next day, and I don't know, I'll be curious to find out how other people felt that night, but it seemed like we just, I don't know if we just didn't want to know about each other because we knew we'd have to vote someone out or what, but like hardly anyone talked. It was just sitting in silence looking at the fire. Nick came over one time and he sat there for like 5 minutes and then left because we weren't saying anything. He left his Sprite. He left his chair and left a Sprite in the chair.
Oh, that was before you guys did confessionals.
Yep. And someone grabbed it and Forrest wanted to drink it. I don't know if he actually drank it, but anyways.
I know he drank a sip of it.
Okay. So yeah, that was the first night pretty much. Can't remember anything else. Do you have any questions about the first night?
No, I don't think so. What happens next? You go to your tribal council.
Yeah, we wake up in the morning. We decided not to cook any rice that night because we wanted to have, we had all had some kind of food that day because it was the first day, you know. So we decided to have it for breakfast in the morning. So we did. We had like 3 tablespoons maybe each.
How did you cook it?
We had a pot and we had water. We used our water from our water bottles, I think, and we had some jugs of water. But it was mushy and nasty, and people like didn't want to eat it, and I was like, hell yeah, I'll eat it. Like, of course. I think I was tactful about it and like made sure that no one really people didn't want it, but people said it was so gross they couldn't eat it, so I was like, whatever.
What was gross about it? That it was
really mushy. It was watery and also not quite cooked. I mean, it was cooked. It was just really bad. I don't remember who cooked it. Whatever. It wasn't like the pot wasn't even. Oh, it was like tilted, and so it was weird. So some things got burned. It was weird. Yeah, we kind of just sat in silence all that morning. Then we went to tribal council. They came and got us like late. We were up for hours. It felt like before they came and got us. Mm-hmm. They came and got us for tribal council, and we voted Sam out. I think we all. So that morning. So the night before, me, Katie, Justin, and Emily. Okay. So I think the first day, I went to the bathroom and Emily was there, and I was like going to the bathroom and I turned around and I was like, Emily, like I feel like you and I get along with you really well, and I want to work with you, and I feel really comfortable with you. And she was like, yeah, I feel the same. So I was like, sweet. And I think I told her that I was also in with Justin. And so I honestly felt like she was my ride or die. And I think I told her that right away. I don't know. Maybe that was later. I was like, you're basically my ride or die. And she was like, all right, cool. And she seemed really happy to have someone talking to her and like strategizing with her. Mm-hmm. So then later that night, this is still the first night, me, Justin, Katie, and Emily all went to the bathroom together. Yes. And when we came back, I was like, I don't want to keep strategizing because, I had talked to them a few times, but like, this is the first time that all four of us were together. And I was like, I just want to, I don't want to strategize all the time, but like the four of us are here by ourselves. And I feel like if I didn't say something, it would be missing an opportunity to say that like, I feel really good about this group and I could see us going to the end and blah, blah, blah. And everyone was like, yeah, except Katie. Katie was saying yeah, but she was like looking at the ground and looking away. And I was like, something subconsciously was like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But like, I kind of like dismissed it like whatever. I could be reading too much into this or whatever. It turned out that I wasn't reading too much into it.
Yeah, Toby and Justin were her top three.
Yeah.
And you and Emily were a little bit on the outs.
On the outs, yeah. Yup.
Being used as votes for her three.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll talk more about that later. I feel a little betrayed. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so that was good. So, in the morning, we talked some more. I don't remember the specifics, but we talked some more, and we decided it was Sam because she wasn't having a good time, and she seemed like she wanted to go home anyway. Oh yeah, because she was talking about cigarettes like nonstop. Maybe not nonstop, but she was talking about cigarettes a lot, like how much she wanted one, and it was the first day, and they were her and Jasmine were talking about like what they were gonna get when they were done with this. And
do you want to know a secret?
Yeah.
After Sam did her confessional, her friend, who happens to also be named Sam,
okay,
was on the cameras. And while they were doing a confessional with Toby, Sam wanted to go to the bathroom. So the other Sam walked her to the bathroom. They took a long time. And I had to like hold them back so that they wouldn't overhear any of Toby's confessional. Mm-hmm. And when they came back, Sam told me that she gave Sam a cigarette.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Because in Sam's confessional, she basically said she was quitting. She
really?
She literally said she was crying. She was very upset, yelling and saying she was going to quit. She's going to make it through the night, but she's going to quit because she started her period and she needed a cigarette. So Sam gave her a cigarette.
Wow.
And by morning, what I had told her that night was, just sleep it off. Maybe you'll change your mind in the morning. And she was like, nope. But by the morning, she had changed her mind, and she was not going to quit. And that's why she didn't tell you guys she was quitting, because she decided not to.
Oh, that's so sad. Like she had waited.
Yeah.
She waited and she didn't want to quit, and then we voted her off. Oh, that's very sad. So yeah, we went to tribal council and we voted her off, and then we waited for the blue tribe to come. And we did another challenge. Do you remember what that challenge was?
This may have been the ball puzzle challenge. Balancing on the balance beams, untying the balls, and then doing the blindfolded puzzle.
Yeah, I think it was that because we lost that. So the next challenge, as you said, was it was like walking across a balance beam, and then 4 people blindfolded. So it was 3 people who had to walk across the balance beams. There was like 3 different balance beams. 1 person for each balance beam had to stay on the balance beam and untie some balls that were in a bag underneath the log. That took a long ass time.
So long.
Oh my God.
I was shocked at how long people took to do that.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Is it that hard to walk on a dang balance beam?
They're very small.
I walked on them.
Anyways, meanwhile, me, Emily, Michael, and one other person, I don't remember who, were blindfolded, just waiting for them. And that was really frustrating to wait and not know what was going on. But then it came to us, and we had to, guide the ball through a table maze that had all kinds of holes, and we just weren't doing it. And the other team wasn't doing it either. And so finally, Liza said, one person take off your blindfold. So I did, I think it was me or Emily. And then 2 people, and then 3 people, and then everyone took it off, and the other team eventually won. We got a little over halfway through, and it was.
And instead of 3 balls, you only had to get one.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, just 1 ball, eventually. And the other team won. And so we did some strategizing. Strategizing mostly happened when we went to get water. When one person would say, "I'm going to go get water," another person would follow them. And then, or going to the bathroom. Someone would go to the bathroom, the other people would follow them. So they wanted to vote up Michael, and like, Katie, I kept being like, oh, because I felt bad for him because he loved the game so much, and we were gonna vote him out like right then, and I was like, oh, poor kid, and Katie kept saying like, oh, I know you have a soft spot for him, and I was like, no, I don't. I'm just like, bummed to vote someone off who loves this game so much. Like, it made me really mad because I felt like she was like trying to frame me as someone who like
was against her
and was in favor of Michael, who they're about to vote off, which puts me in a precarious position. So yes. I was like, no, I don't. I really don't. I just feel bad for voting someone off, like anyone. So that made me really mad that she was framing me in that way. And then I also felt bad because Jasmine said she wanted to go home. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, great. We have someone who wants to go home. We don't have to vote off Michael. And they're like, no, we're still going to vote off Michael. This is Katie. Yeah. Being like, no, we're still going to vote off Michael. And I was like, but Jasmine wants to go home. Like, that's kind of fucked up to, like, vote Michael over someone who wants to go home. But we did.
And then Jasmine ended up quitting and screwing you all over anyway.
So really, we could say...
It was ridiculous.
It was Katie's fault. Like, we could say that, honestly. And she ended up getting voted out after...
Karma.
Yeah.
She got what was
coming to her. Absolutely. Oh, my God. So, yeah. Not the best strategy there. I don't know what their deal was against Michael, but whatever. So Michael went home. He was very mad. He, like... kind of stormed off he's not a stormy kind of guy. So like whatever way he walked off, but we could tell he was mad, and he left immediately after doing his last confessional. We never saw him again. So yeah, I'm trying to remember. So I think the puzzle after that was the picture puzzle with the boards that were out of the frame, and you had to put them in the frame and switch them around until you got the puzzle.
That's correct.
Yeah. So I got really excited because that's one of my favorite puzzles. Like I know I'm good at puzzles, but picture puzzles especially, and I've always liked that kind of puzzle. So I was like, you guys, because we saw them setting it up, and I was like, you guys, this is what I think it is. If it is, like, can you let me do it? Because it's my dream to do it. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, they thought I was a nerd, and they were like, okay, sure. And so me and Emily ended up doing it because you needed 2 people, and we worked really well together on that.
And you won.
Yeah, we won. So like, all I remember from that is that like 2 people had to go put some logs in like this sled, basically, and then 4 people had to like drag the sled all around.
Yeah, around some
logs or something.
They were like sawhorses that were set up, and you had to go around one, and then one way, and then the other way, and you could block the other team. It was pretty cool. I was on the cameras down there catching them going around the block things, and your team did block the other team from going around their pole.
Yeah, because I remember we were in a little bit of a lead when they finally got to us, because they were also bringing us the puzzle pieces, the boards. They were in that little sled. So I remember being like, hell yeah, we're in a little bit of a lead. Not much. It was like, they were like 10 feet ahead of them kind of thing. But I was like, all right, so yeah, we got all the puzzle pieces. The thing is, you had to put all the pieces in before you could start doing the puzzle.
Oh.
So like
that was the rule.
That's what Liza said. Like she was like, you can't like put it together on the ground. You have to put them in and figure it out.
That's a good rule.
It is, but I was still looking at it, trying to do my best. And that was the first time I've really done a puzzle like that, so it was exciting for me. I remember being like, oh my gosh, like I can see this. Like I know that this is the end. I know that this is the end. I know this is probably in the middle. So it was really cool to be like, I'm actually kind of good at this. And then Emily, I felt so bad because whenever I'm in a competition kind of thing like that, I get very, like, not angry, but I'm like very sharp, I guess, or like where I'm like, I'm like, you know, like this one goes here, and I don't know about that one. Emily, what do you think about that one? And she'd be like, I think it goes here, and I'd be like, are you sure? And she'd be like, no, I'm not. And so, it was funny, it was interesting, but we ended up winning, so that was amazing. And that, I want to say, was that immunity?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it absolutely was, because I remember we had to go sit out in the field. Oh, that's another thing for me to remember, is that we had to go fucking sit out in the field, a hot fucking field,
you were out
for
there
hours.
For 2 or 3 hours.
It was miserable. Oh my god. It
was like the desert out there.
It was, literally.
And you
there,
had a
there
little
were
breakdown.
snakes.
There were
yeah.
snakes.
Yeah.
You cried.
Yeah. So I remember we had to go out to the field, and it was funny to watch the blue team because they were freaking out because they
were scrambling. It was really great.
They had not had any time, like they hadn't even thought about strategy because they had been winning, you know.
Correct.
So it was all of a sudden it was like, oh my god, we had to vote someone out, and so we were out in the field, and like Forrest was catching snakes and saying that he wanted to eat it, and like most of us were like we're not really there yet, like we're not here for 30 days, we've been here for like half a day. One day. Yeah, and that's when I had the breakdown with you were coming over to do confessionals.
I was just bored, and I was like, they're wasting all the, like, they could be strategizing and getting some confessionals, and they're doing nothing, so I took it upon myself.
Oh, very good. But yeah, I saw you, and it was like, you know, seeing home, seeing the love of my life. Mm-hmm. And so it was really, like, I immediately broke down in front of you, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm tired, and like I can't trust anyone, and I
hate my tribe. I should have been on the blue tribe.
Yeah, that's right. I said I should have been on the blue tribe, because all night the night before we had heard the blue tribe laughing and talking, and we were just sitting in silence. Like, it was kind of miserable. Mm. I mean, I like the people on my team, but I wanted to be around people who, you know, outwardly loved the game and were lovey-dovey, and I don't know. And I didn't feel like I mentioned to you many times before, because they were targeting Michael for his love of the game, I was like, oh my god, I can't like talk about the game. Mm-hmm. Like, but aren't we all here because we love the game? Like, except for Forrest. So anyways, yeah, I had a little breakdown. I cried. I didn't quit. The next challenge was people were slingshotting these paint bags, and a bunch of us had like these butterfly nets, and we had to catch them. Justin pretty much caught all of them. I think Forrest may have caught one. I don't remember. I do, but one thing that happened was Justin's broke. His butterfly net broke, and it was
the replay.
Yeah, it was obvious that he had gotten it, but like for some reason they wanted to be sure. And he did get it, and so we ended up winning that one, which was great because that was also immunity. So wait, who did were you there for the first Blue Tribe?
Yeah, they voted
Tribal
out Nick.
Council. They voted out Nick. That's right. Yeah, because we were watching, and we were like, oh my god, it's the guy with the hat or something like that, and they were like, oh, the Cubs hat, that's Nick, and we were like, oh, like whoa. And I remember Justin being like upset because they were getting rid of the strong players, which is really stupid.
Well, literally no one trusted Nick except for Jessica.
Yeah,
because Nick was making side deals with everyone. He had a final 2 with everyone, and so no one could trust him.
Right. And he was apparently throwing out like everyone's name.
Yes.
Okay, so it was Nick, and so I think we went out and waited again while they voted someone out. Who did they vote out second?
Did they? I don't remember who else was on their
unless it
team.
was an reward.
May have been reward, actually.
What would it have been? Brownies. We had brownies.
Brownies.
Yeah, it was brownies because. No, wait.
There
what?
was a brownie reward that day.
Yeah, I think that was for the soccer. Yeah, that was for the coconut one because I remember like no one was hitting it and we were so frustrated, and Toby was like told Liza like. Or he was talking, I don't remember if he was talking to Liza or the other team, but he was like, we should just split the brownies. Let's quit right now and split the brownies. And the other team was like, yeah, heck yeah, let's do it. And Liza was like, nope, that's not happening. And Toby got very mad.
Really?
He was like, whatever. And then later on, Liza tried to bargain with them too. And Toby was like, no. Like, if you're not going to let us split the brownies, then we're not doing any more bargains. We're just playing this out.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't remember what came first. But one of them was a brownie challenge. We won that one, which was nice. And that's when Jasmine left, actually. So I think that may have been the first.
She left right before the swap.
Okay. So then they must have voted one other person out before that. Patrick went home.
Patrick went home.
Yeah, because I remember during the butterfly one. Yeah, so the butterfly one is when we won, and then they went to tribal and they voted Patrick out, or
Yes.
Tricky as he called himself.
Yes.
Because I remember Patrick like came up to me and was like,
Oh yeah.
it was like. He looked at me and I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he was like, "Good, how are you?" and then he kept looking at me like he wanted to say something, and then he was like, we should definitely talk sometime, but obviously now's not the time," or something like that. Like it would be lovely to talk to you, but now is not the time. And I was like, okay. And then he went out, and then we had the brownie challenge, and that's when Jasmine quit. And right after that is when we found out that we were going to be split into 3 teams. I'm making it sound like it's going fast, but it wasn't. Like, we waited so long between challenges, between tribal councils. Like, oh my God, it took forever. And there was so much waiting. And it's reasonable. It's understandable. That's, they got set up for things. But there was a lot of waiting.
I don't understand why you didn't just go back to your camp every
I don't
time.
either.
It was so weird.
We could have lied down in a place that wasn't full of ticks. I mean, sure it was.
Why build that shelter just to sleep in it once?
Yeah. But yeah. So then Jasmine went home. And then, we found out we were getting to 3 tribes. So our team, the red team Skitter tribe, had an idol because Michael had found that clue, I'm missing that whole part. So what was it?
Oh, that was that other challenge.
Yeah, that was on the first day.
That was that.
The clue said like there will be a hidden immunity idol hidden underneath this board or something, and it showed where it would be.
Both Jasmines got it.
Our Jasmine got it, and then the other Jasmine got it on the other team, and we saw Jasmine get it, but we don't think that her team saw her get it. We weren't sure about that. We figured that they didn't see it and that she didn't tell anyone. Is that right?
She told 2. So one person may have seen her. She told. Now I don't remember if she told Cameron or Brandon. She told one. I think she told Cameron. I think he was her number 1 from the beginning because she told him. And one other person knew about it. I don't remember if it was Sarah or Becca.
Did Tony know
about
about
it? But those
it?
were the only people who knew. Nobody else knew about it at all.
I could see Becca.
Until you guys were yelling. Yeah, it was Becca. That's right. 'Cause she was on the slingshot. Yeah. So Jasmine
on our team.
Yeah, made that comment in front of the other Jasmine's team members.
Because she had we had talked about like we knew that no one really saw her get it. The other Jasmine on the other team, we knew her team didn't see it. At least that's what we thought. So we were like, how can we start drama on that tribe? How can we split them up? And so one of the ways we were thinking about splitting them up was like by mentioning that Jasmine had the idol in front of the whole team, so that like they wouldn't trust her or whatever. And Jasmine was like, I can do it. Jasmine on our team was like, I can do it because I'm quitting, and like I have like
oh my God.
it doesn't matter to me if there's a target on my back, like because I'm leaving. And so we all kind of laughed, didn't think she was actually gonna do it. At least I didn't really assume that, but
apparently she did it with attitude, and they all called her that bitchy one.
She did have some attitude. I wouldn't call her a bitch though. Yeah. It was Jasmine and Emily, and I don't remember how it went down, but they were. I think Jasmine on the other team was trying to talk to them, like so who are you guys working with and all this stuff, and and Jasmine was like, what do you like? Why do you think I would tell you that? Like, and then was like, what does your team know you have an idol? Or I don't know what she said, but she mentioned the idol, like whatever. And that got the other Jasmine all flustered, and Emily came back and was like kind of excited that it had gone down like that, because they definitely made some ripples in their tribe. But I'm really glad that you decided not to do confessionals or even look at me after that.
When did you find the idol? Whoa, when you voted out Michael. When did you find the idol?
No, I think it was right when the merge happened.
Oh, that's right. It was after the swap. So it had been left over by Jessica the night before.
Left over by Jessica?
The reason it was in there was because Jessica had played it. Liza put the idol in the urn and then forgot about it.
Are you
and left
serious?
It there. Yeah.
I'm still blown away that no one else, like 5 people voted before me and they didn't see it. Oh my God, that's hilarious. That's fucking hilarious. Okay, I was wondering how it accidentally got left in there. Okay, wow. All right. Anyways, so going into 3 tribes. So our original Skitter tribe had an idol, and we had talked about like if we get voted, if we get split into groups where like there's a team where there's less Skitter, then we need to give the idol to that team because then we need to vote out the blue team so we can have the numbers. And then they did say like if it's like 4 blue and 1 Skitter, then that person's just screwed no matter what, so we're not going to give it to them because that would be a waste of an idol. And what happened was when we got into 3 tribes, it ended up being a schoolyard pick. Oh, I still get like my blood boils thinking about this. So who were the captains? It was Sarah was a captain.
Yes.
Sarah from the blue tribe. Katie was a captain.
And I believe Cameron was
the other captain. Okay. So Katie, picks Toby picks Justin immediately.
Yes.
Sarah picks Toby.
Yes, and she said Tony, or she said
yeah,
Toby,
that's right.
And Tony went over and she said, I didn't say Tony, I said Toby.
Tony. Yeah, and that was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Cameron picked some people from blue, like Brandon or something, and then Katie kept picking red people. Like I think she picked Forrest, right? Or no, Forrest was on Toby's team with Sarah.
Yes.
Who else did she pick?
John.
Yeah, I couldn't believe she picked John before me.
Me either.
I was pissed.
She picked Jessica second, I believe, and then she picked John.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the fact that she was choosing blue over red, I was just like, what the fuck? And then, of course, Sarah was getting all red people pretty much. It was crazy.
She wasn't thinking very
No, I think
smartly.
she was thinking like...
She was thinking strength.
She was thinking muscle. Yeah, and so then it was me and Emily. And I looked at Emily and I was like, this draws the line in the sand. Like, this is like...
It was you, Emily, and Tony.
And they picked Tony before us, right?
No.
No? Okay.
You got picked... Wait, maybe. I think Emily
got
last.
picked. No, I was last.
You were not last, I promise.
Okay,
you.
I was second to last. They picked me, and then Emily went over to the Sarah tribe. And so I went with Cameron, Brandon, Jasmine, and Becca, and me. My blood was boiling because I really thought that me, Justin, Katie, and Emily were in like a Final Four alliance. And when she didn't pick me and Emily, I was like, wow. Mm-hmm. Like, we're on the outside. I didn't know it. Like... Now everything's clear and I'm fucking pissed at Katie.
So let me ask you, if you had been the team captain, who would you have chosen?
I have no idea. I would have chosen Emily first because...
Oh!
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I wasn't thinking of that strategically.
No, you weren't.
But I would have chosen... I don't know, because I wasn't even... I wasn't picked as the captain, so wasn't even thinking about like what I would do. So I don't even know.
But now you can think
sure,
back.
I would hope.
She got the first pick and she picked Justin.
Yeah, which was a smart move on her end in terms of muscle.
Her next pick was Jessica, who is...
a Marine.
I don't know that everyone knew that, but she was clearly the strongest player on the blue tribe.
Okay.
And because she was the strongest player... from the blue tribe, a great person to have where she's the only blue person.
Okay.
So you could easily vote her out.
Okay.
3-1.
If you didn't win, but hopefully you would win, is what I'm sure she was thinking. Having muscle on the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would not make sense is having an entire red tribe.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that.
Okay. But you're mad that she didn't choose you and Emily.
No,
Justin.
it wasn't that I was mad that she didn't choose me. It was
that she chose John and Jessica before you.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. And that we were last. It was like, it just was like, wow.
The way I remember it was that it was you, Emily, Tony, and John were the last ones. She picked John instead of you or Emily. And it shocked me.
And that was the surprise to me. I was like, wow. Like, you would think that she would want someone in her alliance with her.
Right. It made no sense to me why she chose John.
exactly.
I could not figure
That was when
out.
I was just like, exactly.
I could not figure
That was
out.
when I was just like, wow. Just wow. Yeah. Anyways, what tribe did Tony go on?
He ended up with Sarah and Toby.
Okay. So it ended up being 2 red dominant teams and 1 blue dominant team. And I was the one on the blue dominant team, and I was the only red. So, yeah, when that happened, not only was I upset about, like, thinking that I was not aligned with those people anymore, I was like, fuck the red team. Like, honestly, that's how I was feeling. I wanted to quit, and I was so sad. So in our 3 tribes, we had to do an immunity challenge right away, and it was a math thing. It was like, here are all these numbers, these like blocks of numbers, and you have to make it so that each row and column equals the same. And I was like, oh, it's just like Sudoku in my mind, but then it wasn't at all like Sudoku at all. And I'm really bad at math, so like I wasn't helping at all, and I had a searing headache, like the back of my neck.
Yeah, I saw you do absolutely
I did nothing. I had the giant headache. I was hopeless. Like, part of me was like hoping that we would lose this challenge so that I could just go home and get it over with, like, you know, like rip off the Band-Aid, so to speak.
I was shocked that you guys figured it out before the other team. Oh, here's what I never got to tell you. You idiots left all your numbers in the exact order.
You didn't tell me.
The other team scrambled theirs around so you couldn't cheat off of them. Well,
Yeah.
then Justin and Katie stood up and were copying your exact numbers. They actually got it wrong the first time they called Liza over. They had switched 2 numbers. So then they had to do it again, but they were cheating off of your answers the whole time. It was just like, oh, why didn't you scramble it up before you left?
We just ran. We weren't even thinking. But yeah, that was mostly Cameron and Brandon. They were the ones who were thinking that through. And it's funny because Cameron had it. He had the number. I think he may have had the wrong number first, but then the second number he threw out, it was definitely the one. But we kept like doubting it. I don't know what happened. He kept doubting it.
It was 34.
Yeah. It was like, what is it divided by 4 or something like that? Anyways, or 8, I don't remember. I think it was 8. Anyways, I did nothing, and I felt bad. I did honestly feel bad, but like, I was checked out, and I'm not good at math. So then, as soon as we finished that puzzle, we ran over to this really awesome flag puzzle that we had to put together, and that I felt like I could be much more helpful. And they weren't like listening to me at first, and I eventually like kind of asserted myself a little bit, like, this goes on top, like, get Justin up and put like this goes on top, like, because
I think I heard you yelling from across the field.
Because like, once again, we couldn't put it together on the ground. We had to put everything up before we could start solving it. And so they were putting stuff up, and I was like, I know that this goes on top, like, let's just put it on top now. And they're like, no, we can't solve it. And I'm like, no, we know this is top. I know it's top, like, put it on top. And so I eventually just started directing everyone, like, this doesn't go here. But we got it. We won, which was amazing. And I was so relieved because I was like, oh my God, like, I'm not going home. I had basically already given up, but I didn't have to. Yeah, so we won that one.
And Justin's team lost. And
right.
So that was the end of the day that day.
Yeah.
Everyone went back to their camps.
I went back to our original Skitter Tribes camp with the 4 other blue people. I made the fire again. And then we talked a little bit and mostly just fell asleep.
Did you try to work with anyone that night?
So Jasmine, like, right after that tribal, or maybe it was not the tribal, right after that challenge, or maybe it was before the challenge, Jasmine was like being like, so who are you working with over there, and like asking all these questions, and I was like, I'm not gonna tell you that. Like, I outright said that. I didn't want to act that way because I wanted them to trust me, but like, I also didn't know what to say because, like, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to tell you. But then eventually I did tell them who I was working with, and then they voted her off.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. At the merge.
Let's stop there.
Okay.
So we are stopping at the first night.
Second night.
Excuse me.
Oh my God.
We are stopping at the first night after the swap. That is Friday night.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Excuse you.
And we are back in the future. It is now April 2021, and Becky has just watched a sneak preview of episode 13. We hear a big sigh coming from Becky. Becky, what are you thinking right now?
Just watching that episode, my heart was racing the whole time, like just reliving the feelings that I felt during it. Starting with the wood, like I believe so. We polled for spots with the wood, and like whoever got to go first got to choose their wood. I think I was last or second to last.
Yeah.
And the wood that I got was like just watching Brandon. He was hitting it, and the chips were flying, and it was just going through. Whereas with me, it looked like I wasn't hitting it that hard, but I swear to God, I was hitting it so hard.
Yeah.
It was very wet wood. It was very very much alive, whereas everyone else's was dead. And I just remember how disheartened I felt when I was just chopping away as hard as I could, and my hand was turning numb, and I couldn't, yeah. So I'm just disheartened.
Yeah, it was very hard to watch just being there. I wish the camera had caught this, but Brandon's second piece that he cut, he chopped like 2 times, and then he picked the whole branch up and just broke it in half with his hands.
That would not have happened with my piece of wood.
Not at all. No way. No possible way. And I knew, because I had to help set that up.
And so you knew what wood was what.
I knew. Yeah, when I saw you get that spot, I was like, oh my God, that is a literal tree that Liza's nephew cut down the day before.
You're kidding.
It was a literal tree. Everyone else had branches, and you had a tree trunk.
Oh my God.
And it was because like they couldn't find anything else comparable to the other 3 pieces.
Oh my God.
Oh, it was heartbreaking watching you get that. But then I was like, Becky has chopped down so many trees and chopped, not actual trees, but we used to own a house in Connecticut, Becky and I, and we had a oak tree.
A massive oak tree.
That was pretty much 2 oak trees.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
It was that, someone else cut down for us, and we, mostly Becky, chopped the fuck out of that thing. So like I know Becky knows how to use an axe. I chopped it into firewood
with an axe. Like a whole 2 oak trees worth of wood.
It was like 3 cords of wood that you chopped. And I helped, but it was mostly you. So I was like, maybe she can do it.
I went into it like just watching it. I could tell that I was very confident, which is not usually me. I'm not a confident person all that much. So I could tell, and I asked you, I was like, do I look cocky? Like, cause I was like, all right, the wood chopping, I literally just finished chopping down a giant oak tree. Like, I know how to chop wood.
Yeah, it wasn't that long before.
Fire making, I know how to make fire. I can make it in 15 seconds. Like, I got this.
You were standing there on the mat before the challenge, like with this smile on your face. I was like, oh.
Yeah, just watching it, I just like, oh, Becky. Oh, Becky. But.
Yeah, so, I mean, essentially the Final 5 challenge was a number draw. That's it.
It really was.
Whoever got your piece had no chance of winning if the roles had been reversed. If you had got any other piece, honestly, you probably would have won. You got that fire up faster than anyone.
I was the last person to finish chopping their wood. I remember running over. Excuse me. I remember running over to my fire, like where I was gonna make fire, and I didn't even look over at Cameron's, but I had sort of been hearing, and it seemed like Cameron's fire was, up there, like he had gotten it going. So I was like, I have no chance, but like I can't give up now. I need to just do this, and so I freaking got started, and I got my fire going relatively quick, and I was disheartened, obviously, because Cameron's had reached his twine by that point.
Yeah, it had.
And it was starting to turn dark, but his
fire died.
His fire died, and I was like, all right, I got this.
It was just like everyone there watching was just fully enraptured by this. Everyone was so excited. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, she is going home now. And then you caught up, and I was like, oh my God, she has a chance. Yeah. Oh my God.
Watching myself make the fire, I was like critiquing myself as I was watching it, because I really should have, like, in the beginning I was so focused on getting the flame up, but not so much the base up. You can see me trying to make the teepee, but the wood just wouldn't stay up.
Yeah, it kept falling over because you were on this bumpy dirt and
Is that
grass.
what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And you didn't have everyone else's wood.
Dude.
No, let's not.
No, we need to talk about that, because like in the tribal council of this episode, I didn't say much. Like I didn't say, like, Eliza asked me how I felt or whatever it is that she said. Like, how
You
you
were
feel?
pissed, honestly. So
I was so angry.
Wait, hang on, because this is why everyone, like, there was no special editing that I did where I was like, I'm just going to put in the parts where people are saying how much they love Becky and how they want to keep her around. Like, all the Lombards were just saying those things. I wasn't doing those confessionals. People were just saying that. This is why you're such a lovable person, because you have this positive vibe about you. You're always smiling. Even when you're angry, you kind of put on a mask. And this is something that I hope now that you're in your 30s, you can let go of a little bit and just be a little more real when you more honest about your feelings when you're upset.
Yeah.
So talk about how you were actually upset, even though you were smiling and like, oh, no big deal.
Well, I mean, there is the context of Survivor, the game.
Like, you don't want to make too much of a big deal of it.
I'm not gonna.
Like, it's just a
I'm
game.
not gonna go out there and like show my anger and be like, oh, I'm so pissed. Like, I kind of did that with Brandon when
you were bullying him.
Emily got voted out, and then also
and Cameron,
yeah. So, like, I think comparatively, I don't know if anyone would call it bullying, but for me, that was me showing my anger.
Yeah, I wish there was video of you talking to Brandon after that Emily vote. All we had was the Cameron, you and Cameron, and you're just like,
I was so mad.
You were mad.
I was so mad at them because, like, I had just disclosed to them that Emily was my person, which was stupid. I shouldn't have been so obvious about that, but I was trying to include her as a number, like hey, I'm not alone. We have 2 votes here, like
use us.
Yeah, use us.
And then you guys could have infiltrated them and got the 2 of you in those cracks, and then you would have had a better chance. So let's go back then.
Let's go back to the anger, though.
No.
I do want to talk about it.
We will. So where we had left off was at the swap, and so basically episode 5. So now we're going to talk less about your actual memories, because you've lost most of your
anything.
memories.
Every episode that I've watched for this season, I'm just like, wow, that happened? That's crazy.
You're like, oh, this is where John goes home, but no, plays an idol.
I had no idea who went home. Like in the beginning, I was like, oh, I can't wait to see who goes home tonight.
Yeah, it's great. So let's start from episode 5 or 6. Let's start with 6 actually. And I'll tell you. Don't worry. You look confused. You're like, what's that? So let's start there, and a little more quickly this time, since you don't have as many memories. We can go through.
Yeah. I really wish that we had continued the diary entries. Man.
See, it's just like how you were with writing things down. You didn't want to write it all down. You thought it would be easier to record this. And then when we got the first hour done, and I kept saying, like, when are we going to finish?
I have a hard time committing to things.
Yeah, you do.
But I regret that, because listening to that hour of me talking, it was so cool to relive it, because I remembered so much at that time, whereas now I remember nothing. And so now the second half of the game is, other than what's on video, is like totally gone.
Yeah. So we're just going to talk about your reaction to the episodes, I guess. Okay. So episode 6 is you're in the swap. You find out, and this is great, you find out that Jazzy and Cameron went through your coat back at camp.
Yes, when I was watching the episode, I freaked out. I was like, what? Because, oh my gosh, I had no idea that they did that, obviously. That's one of the funnest things of watching this, is like seeing what I didn't see when I was actually playing.
Right.
So they went through my coat. I don't blame them. Like, I'm not angry about it. I was just shocked, because like that's a totally legitimate thing to do on Survivor. It's kind of shady, kind of sneaky.
It's super shady.
But I'm not like the moral player. I'm not that person who's like, oh, I need to have morals, and we all need to play this game with morality. It's like, it's a game and it's meant to be played, so
you need to expect it. You need to expect that someone's going to look through your bag. And if you had an idol, you wouldn't have left it in your bag.
I would never leave it there, or my coat.
You're no dummy.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so also in that episode, I really liked that episode because I was able to put in a bunch of camp life stuff, which was really fun because there wasn't that much to put in. So the episode 6 was one of my favorites. Let's see. This is the challenge where Jazzy's calling and you and Brandon are blindly wandering through the field getting puzzle pieces.
Jazzy did such a freaking good job with
Didn't
that.
she? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We got so lucky that Jazzy was on our team and that she recognized and we recognized that she would be the best caller.
Yeah.
Cuz who was it? It was me and Brandon that were finding the pieces of wood, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
prancing Brandon.
Yes. It was so difficult because we were blindfolded and like there's so many holes and pieces of grass you could trip over, so Brandon was prancing. I was doing a little bit, but it wasn't as amazing as Brandon's prance.
No one can prance like Brandon.
Nobody can. Yeah, so Jazzy did a great job telling us where to go, being attentive to both of us as we found pieces and double checked with her, and yeah, that was a good feeling because in the first challenge that I did with that team after we swapped tribes, I didn't know anything. I'm not great at math at all. Did we already talk about this?
No.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you did actually on the last one. Yeah.
In the podcast. Okay.
You were just kind of out of it, and then you were like yelling at people where to put the puzzle pieces on the at the very end, the fabric puzzle at the end.
Oh, the fabric.
But you were pretty much out of it.
Was that all the same?
Yeah. So you were out of it for the magic number 34.
Yes,
and I
was going through a caffeine withdrawal. Like,
yeah,
talk about addiction. Like, I know that I'm addicted to coffee.
That's a bad headache right
there.
So
it was like 2 days without coffee. I had told myself in the beginning that I was gonna go like at least a week beforehand without coffee. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I failed. I wish I had because I had the worst headache in the world during that. But anyways, so yeah. Moving on to
winning that.
Yeah. It felt great. I actually had hope because when we were split into those tribes, I had no hope that I was going to be able to stay because I knew the blue were strong. I may have already shared this also, but like at night, the Skitter tribe would hear the blue tribe laughing and staying up all night and having a good time, and we were all just quiet, like. So like. I had no hope that I was going to be able to infiltrate them. But having won the immunities and not going to tribal council, I was like, okay, like maybe there's a chance. Who knows?
Yeah.
So it was great.
Something that you talked about that you wished you had been able to see, but there's no video of it, was the bond that you made with Cameron on that new Skitter tribe. He talks about it. You talk more about a bond with Brandon. So did you, because you did say like to me, oh, I wish there was more video of the bonding with Cameron. Do you remember anything?
I don't remember that much. I do remember, talking with him and,
because you were both from the same area.
Yeah, both from the same area.
He went to BU. You had taken a class there with Julia Sokolowski from Co-Wrong.
Yeah!
Survivor season 31 or 32, whatever.
Yeah, it was a
32.
Sociology of Sexualities class, and Julia was there. And it was during her season.
During her season, yeah.
I saw her in class, and I was like, that looks like someone on Survivor. And then I went home and like watched the newest episode. I was like, that's fucking Julia.
Yeah, it was like episode 2. You were like, oh my God,
she's in my class. And then I went back and and into class, and I was like, you're on Survivor, aren't you? She's like, yeah.
So you and Cam had kind of like talked about that.
Yeah.
You were the only ones from Massachusetts.
Yep, I got to know a little bit about his career. I got, asked him a little bit about, his life and what he does in Massachusetts. We talked about the Boston meetup groups because we've both gone to those.
Right.
Yeah. I definitely, my bond was definitely with Brandon. I wish I had like been more forthcoming in like confessionals and stuff.
Me too.
Because it was very like, I felt a bond with him because we're both queer.
Yeah.
And
a Rainbow Alliance.
Yeah. And like I wanted us to work together. And beyond that, he's just an awesome guy. He's so friendly. Yeah. So, and then Becca, this is a little bit later. I guess it's not, because when I was with them on that tribe, I don't remember if this was after we merged or if this, no, I think this was my first night at the Lombard camp.
Yeah, the new Skinner
The
camp.
new Skinner camp,
What
yeah.
happened with Becca?
So Becca and I, Becca was tending the fire the whole night. Tony and I were both sleeping by the fire.
Tony wasn't there. So this is the merge.
Oh.
This
Okay.
had to be the merge.
Yeah, this must be the merge. Okay. Well, whatever night it was. Yeah, it must have been the merge because we started working together a lot more after we merged. Tony was passed out. It was me and Becca, and we talked a little bit, and I wanted to get to know her a little bit, and she told me that she worked at a recovery house.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm in recovery. I've been sober for, I think at this point it was like what, 9 years?
Yeah,
10 years?
about 9 years. Yeah.
And so we really bonded over that because she understands addiction and alcoholism and recovery, and so we really bonded over that. And I felt like knowing that she worked at a recovery home, I was like she gets me, and I felt very bonded to her at that point, which is why it was so cool that she, Brandon, and I could potentially work together.
Do you want to skip ahead then? I think we might want to hear about what you were thinking at the merge. So we got through episode 6. 7 is the merge, and I think maybe we talked enough about it. You were struggling with whether you wanted to... I know what I wanted to ask. You make a final 3 with Brandon that you're serious about, and then we see, after this conversation, Brandon goes back to Jazzy. Jazzy says, okay, so what's up with Becky? Jazzy's excited, like Becky's going to be on our side. She's going to flip. And Brandon's like, nope, no way. She's not flipping.
He wanted to keep me for himself, basically. Or he didn't want to let them know that he
was plotting. Yeah,
because he was so much on the edge. He was just like, I want to make a move. Like, he was willing to do it with me and Emily. But then, of course, the Blue Tribe wanted to vote out Emily, but he was willing to make a move. He just didn't want to make it at that point. And so I think he was very much caught between staying blue, true to the blue, and wanting to make a move. Because I don't blame him. He was safe in that blue alliance. He had the numbers. Why would you go work with a red player?
Well, because Jazzy wanted to flip on them too. Jazzy wanted Jess out from the beginning.
Yeah.
And he could have done that with you guys, but he did not want to take Jazzy.
Yeah.
He knew that she was a big threat. He didn't want anyone to know that he was plotting to flip. Like, in this episode 13, Jazzy says, I didn't think Brandon was ever going to flip, right? Because he played so well. You have to give him... I was so mad at him watching this footage because I had no idea what a snake he was. And episode 7, I was like, this little bastard, what is he doing? Why is he lying?
So watching Brandon tell Jazzy that I wasn't with them, like he totally screwed me over. Like,
yes, he did.
I was willing to work with the Blue, and I wanted to, and I was like depending on that like I had made inroads with them by being on the swapped tribe with them, and then Brandon goes and says like, no, she's not working with us, no way.
He completely destroyed your game.
Because he completely destroyed it. Good for you, Brandon.
Yeah, good for you, Brandon. Great job.
Yeah.
What a great player.
He's really playing the game, and
no, I'm not being facetious.
No, not at all.
I know.
He really, like, watching this watching all the episodes, I can see how hard he played the game in a way that I couldn't see as much during the actual thing. Like, I knew that he was playing, but I did not know the extent of it. So good for you, Brandon. But you fucked up my game. It's okay.
So that was the one thing from episode 7 that I really wanted to ask you about. Like, what do you think about this?
Yeah. I was so angry when Emily left.
Yeah. Emily.
Yeah, she was my ride or die. I love her. So it was very upsetting. Yeah, and then I aligned with Becca, and then Becca gets voted out. Oh, man.
Wait, we're not there yet.
Okay.
Golly.
Where are we?
So at this point, let's talk about episode 8. Okay, this one, what is it called? Twigs. So at this point, you are angry with your Lombard allies, or like, pseudo allies.
The red people?
Lombard.
Lombard. Gotcha. Sorry.
I'm talking about like Brandon and Cameron.
Gotcha.
They were your two people you were the closest with from Lombard. The only ones talking game with you at that point. Mm-hmm. They chose to vote out who you told them was your biggest ally. And they had good reasons. You know, that I think that was a good move on their part. I hate the move based on, you know, the players that I love the most, that I love watching the most. But they made a good move, and you are now kind of like alone. You talk about yourself being alone. You're alone with 3 guys, 3 dude bros, because they were all dude bros. Like sporty dude bros. Talk about the sporty dude bros, because they're good people.
They are
well,
good people.
I don't know about Forrest, but
It's just like the schoolyard pick is where I realized that we were not as tight as
you've talked about all this.
I know I have.
She'll never let it go.
Because I really thought that I had an alliance with Katie, Justin, Toby, Emily, and me. Yeah. So I wasn't like when we. So that schoolyard pick showed me the lines. So I was like, fine, I'm totally happy to work with the Blue Tribe. Like, that's fine. Mm-hmm. I was also open to working with the Red Tribe once we merged. Yes. But we didn't have the numbers, for one.
So you thought you could, and that's why you chose to vote with them at the merge, because you had an idol. You were positive they were voting Justin out.
Yeah.
And that's why you voted with them, because you thought, like, you would be stupid not to.
Yeah. And it was a way for me to show the Blue Tribe that I'm open to working with them. Mm-hmm. I should have been a little bit more open with Jazzy. That's one of my biggest regrets, is not talking to Jazzy. I talked to Cameron, I talked to Brandon. They were both playing me and using me.
I mean, Jazzy would have as well, but if you had just...
But she was... I find out in these episodes that she was willing to flip on the blue.
Yeah.
And I think she would have been more open than Brandon was to actually making a big move.
Earlier, yes.
Earlier, exactly.
Because it was those confessionals where she's talking about flipping were at the merge. They were before that merge vote. She was like, I really want to vote out Jez. But nobody from Lombard was talking to her. Yeah. Nobody from Skitter was talking to her.
Yeah.
So if you had just taken her aside, you know, this is after Brandon's lied to her and said you don't want to flip. Yeah. You know, you're so distant. You could have done yourself a favor by talking to Jazzy, because she never spoke a game with you.
No. You know,
and that's your fault as well. Yeah.
On the Red Tribe, we thought that it was like Jasmine, Cameron, and Becca. Like, we thought that they were a tight alliance who were never going to break with each other. So talking to Jasmine wasn't even an option in my mind, because if I talked to her, she was going to talk to her alliance, and I'd be screwed.
And that's where Brandon. Is so wrong. That's where Brandon did another great job, because he completely hoodwinked you and made you think like, oh, there are cracks. But he was the one that was tightest with Jazzy. Yeah. And you guys had no clue.
We had no idea. Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
But so Twigs. That's the episode. That's where Forrest goes home, right?
So this is the point where you are like, okay, I'm alone. I'm going to do whatever I need to survive. You had just found an idol. Can we talk about that? I forgot about that. What a great moment.
Yeah.
I had no idea till the next day. They told me the next day Becky found an idol. I was like, what? When? How?
It was in the canister or whatever that you put your votes in. I wasn't the first one to vote, so many people...
You were almost the last one to vote.
Yeah, so many people had looked in there or like put their parchment paper in there, but hadn't seen it. I think it's because I'm relatively tall, so I think...
I know, I never would have seen it.
I think that gave me some advantage to seeing it. But for whatever reason, I found it, and I was just like, oh my God.
And you shove it down your pants.
Shove it down my pants.
First of all, you're about to walk down the stairs holding it in your hand, and then you're like, whoa, wait a second.
Shit, son.
You're like, shit, son. That was so funny. Like, what?
I don't say that word.
What
I don't
are
say
you
that
talking
phrase.
about? Shit, son. Who is this?
I was going to put it in my bra, but like...
Yeah,
my shirt was too tight. Like, there's no way that, and my boobs aren't that big.
You had like these 3 equally sized boobs when you tried to put it in your shirt.
Oh man!
So I cut that out.
So yeah, in my pants it went. I feel like I had seen that on Survivor itself, and so it was like so cool that I was like, oh, I'm gonna put it in my pants.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about a crotch idol. I think that was season 35. Heroes, healers, hustlers, and that little wimpy guy. That's mean. Ryan. he was like, I have an idol. It's in my pants.
It's in my pants. Orion.
Right, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you find the idol, and there's no possible way you could have foreseen that they were going to vote for Emily, so you couldn't save her.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
If
I had known, I would have played on her in a heartbeat.
And that's why they voted for her.
Yeah.
But so now you have an idol.
Yeah.
You're alone.
Yeah.
You know they're going to vote for one of the Reds. You hope it's not you because they know you. And this is where you just make a good guess because there's no strategy talk after this challenge.
Not with the red. Not between the blue and the red.
Yeah, no, period. It's the stacking. You're stacking wood up, and then Brandon wins, and he gets the whoopie pies. And they're like, okay, no talking.
Yes.
No talking. We're setting up tribal. No talking at all. And so you don't even walk into tribal council. You just aren't allowed to speak. You're sitting there, and how did you know?
I just knew. So I wanted to vote out Forrest like right away. I was like, but I knew that we weren't going to because, the annoying person you want to keep around, even though they're incredibly annoying.
That's the goat that you want to take to the end. He's the Philip Shepard.
Yeah,
he's the coach. He's the Debbie. He's the Philip Shepard.
He is the Debbie. There's no doubt about that. On so many levels. So I knew that the blue team found him as annoying as me, Emily, Jasmine, and Sam did.
Yeah. It was just,
everyone else on the red team was putting up with him, and whatever. Doesn't matter. I knew that the blue team found him so annoying, and so I was like, you know what? I bet that they're gonna vote him out. So that was basically, that was all intuition of just like, I'm pretty sure that this is who they're gonna vote out. He's good at challenges and he's annoying. Like, of course they're going to vote him out.
Why would you not vote this guy out? Makes no sense. Yeah. And the whole time, I was so glad, honestly, at this point that he kept saying in his confessionals that he didn't want to win.
Yeah.
Over and over in every confessional, he would go on and on. He would talk about all his jobs no one asked.
No one ever asked.
It's like nobody blank. Forrest. I was a bull rider and I broke wild Mustangs and I am a musician and I just fell into being a musician and a pastor and a politician.
Bit of a Buddhist. Yeah. I'm here to help other people on their journey.
I'm borderline diabetic. Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm just here to help other people and teach them things because I've been through everything you could ever possibly imagine and things you can't imagine either. What a
Whoa. He's obviously been through a lot, so I have empathy for him in that way, but like I don't need that in my life. So
like we've been through a lot too.
Yeah.
That kid's not going to teach me anything. Well, maybe he'll teach me to be a little more humble because he has absolutely no humility.
Exactly.
But okay, so
and when I say I don't need that in my life, it's like I don't need his energy in my life. It's not that I don't need to hear like about his whatever he's gone through. Like that's fine, but like
it's that self-centered energy.
I need to set boundaries with people,
So when he totally flips, and I love how they put it on, shout out to the Movie Seller podcast.
That was a great podcast.
What a great podcast with Becca. The main guy, I think, on that podcast said that Forrest is one of those people and he's putting out all this information about how great he is. And then once he realizes people don't see him as all that great, his mask comes off and the real Forrest emerges. And that's exactly what I was thinking in the moment because and you too, the whole time there were maybe 5 of us of all the dozens of people there the whole weekend who could not stand this guy. And I was mean to him to his face multiple times. We won't talk about that.
Your anger is another thing. We're opposites in that.
I am just not a bullshitter.
Yeah, and that's what I love about you.
And I don't think I could be on Survivor because of that. Like, I cannot tolerate people like that. He was so full of shit all the time. Yeah. And I had to shut him up. Like, he would talk during tribal council, the very first tribal council. He's like, hey, what's that? Do you know what that tool is called right there, leaning up against that shed?
He was going to tell you what it was called, right?
He wasn't asking if anyone knew what it was called. He wanted to tell you what it was called so he could fucking brag about it. Yeah. And so I told him, I just stared at him and I was like, no talking right now.
Yes.
And And everyone was like, "Oh shit!"
Was I there for that?
You were there.
Yeah, because I remember,
and I think you
was
were
like,
mad
yes.
at me. You're like, please don't talk to the people on my tribe like that. But I was like trying to be a hard ass because he was like, there were boundaries that he was just breaking constantly. He was trying to set up challenges. He was just trying to help all the time, and it was not helpful.
Help in quotes.
Yeah, it was just not helpful. Anyway, enough forest bashing.
Yeah.
We saw through him. When his mask came off, it was not shocking. It was like, oh, here he is. Here's real Forrest. Yeah. He puts the flame out with his bare hand and then says, it's not my fault. I'm tougher than everyone else. Like, really? You're really showing that you're not tougher than anyone right now. You're showing you're a whiny crybaby and you need your diaper changed. Yeah, like, come on, dude. Yeah. And then
your fragile ego is what you're showing.
Yes! Oh, my God. The fragile masculinity of Forrest. That's another... title for the episode.
That's a paper I can write.
That's my dissertation. So he screams at a camera woman and then makes Liza cry. And
yeah, he starts going off about how horribly produced the game was, Surviving Maine was, and like how he could have done better and
wow,
all this stuff. And it's just like, how dare you, dude? Like, people are doing this out of the kindness of their hearts, basically. Like, the money we paid as an entry fee or whatever doesn't cover everything. It doesn't cover people's time that they're spending there. Like,
Liza's like $1,000 in the hole from doing these things.
Least.
She just loves doing it.
Yeah. So and it was an amazing experience. So to fucking be a little bitch like that. Sorry, I don't like that word bitch, but he's just a little dick.
Well, let's move on then.
Okay.
A little Richard.
I don't know.
A little Richard.
Cut that out.
No way. Okay.
Anyways, and so we were legitimately, at least I was, scared that he was going to come back because he showed his true colors. Everyone thought he was harmless, but like, dude, he showed that he's not harmless.
Right.
And so we were scared. I was scared that he was going to come back. And
I think there was a lot of footage of this that was lost of you guys talking about how scared you were that he was going to come back in the middle of the night.
Because he's just one of those people that you don't know what he's going to do next. And so, like, your imagination runs wild of, like, what he could do.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, enough Forrest.
Enough of that negativity. Yeah. So then is the touchy subject. I'm like, oh, enough of that negativity.
Now it's a
touchy subject.
Yeah.
Oh, God, sorry. Yeah. This challenge was also, at this point, it's not fun because there's a pagonging going on, basically, where the Lombard tribe is picking you guys off one by one.
Yep.
And that's never fun when there's a touchy subjects challenge because it's clear what's going to happen. The red tribe here has zero chance of winning this immunity. Mm-hmm. Nobody from the red tribe could possibly win this. Mm-hmm. It's just mathematically not possible because of the way that this has shaken out. And then on top of that, the questions themselves that you're answering are touchy subjects. Yes. They're not fun, most of them.
Yeah.
And one person gets offended. I would have too.
Yeah. The game is meant to offend people. Like it
could be very entertaining, but not if you're in it.
Yeah. And I feel like on actual Survivor, you've been with people for a little while and you have bonds. And so if someone says something mean about you, like, it's still going to hurt, but like, you have bonds and relationships to kind of fall back on. Whereas this like 3-night, 4-day thing, like, we don't know each other and we're already talking shit about each other through this game. So it doesn't feel good.
Right.
The biggest thing about this is that we answered the questionnaires before Forrest was voted out. So a lot of the answers were Forrest. Like, who's the most annoying? That was Forrest, 100%. Yeah. 2 people? One person said Jasmine? 2 people said Jasmine?
2 people said Jazzy.
Yeah.
Everyone else said Forrest. No other people came up. And it was Toby and Justin that wrote down Jazzy.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, they said that on the LRG recap show.
Oh, yeah.
I was wondering who those 2 were, and I'm not surprised that it was them. I mean, Jazzy
I have a problem with strong women, I guess.
Maybe but as they said in that episode, she was like they didn't say she was the Forest, but as far as that tribe goes, she was one of the most vocal people.
Yeah, one of the more outspoken people.
She was very outspoken. Like Justin knew like that Jazzy was after him. She had made it very clear and was very vocal about it. And so why would you not say that if like, at this point, if you're Justin, Forrest is in your alliance, Jazzy's after you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who you're going to write.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to write another red tribe. And
even though objectively, Forrest is the only baseline annoying person in the game.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's unless there's anything else you want to talk about this challenge.
I don't think so. I think we all had a lot of respect for each other, and it was definitely a difficult thing to fill out, and it was rough.
It's okay. So at this point, you still have an idol. Justin and Toby are searching for idols. You are lying to them. You are saying, yeah, let's go look for idols.
I went into the game knowing that if I found an idol, I wasn't going to tell anybody.
Yes, good for you.
I had, I was watching all this Survivor seasons with you for the past 4 years or whatever.
And all I do is want to talk strategy the whole time. So
and every time, it was like every time someone didn't keep their idol a secret, because like you can use your idol in a strategic way by showing someone, but like more often than not, like I was yelling at the TV like, why are you showing them your idol? Like, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes of that person.
Yes.
Which is, going forward, thinking about Tony, I had no idea how strategic Tony was and the alliances that he had, how strong his bond with Cameron was.
No idea.
Here I was showing him my idol, being like, let's vote for Cameron. Yeah. Stupid. Like, I didn't have any other choice, really.
You didn't.
But, like, I would have been yelling at myself, like, Becky, that's not the person to show your idol to.
I mean, it was, though. It was the person to show your idol to. And he made it pretty clear that he thought Jazzy and Brandon were a pair. And that you guys really, if you had had more time just to kind of, like, calm down and think, if one of you had just said, okay, one of us votes Brandon. This is episode 12.
Yeah.
If and even Tony himself in this episode 13, he says like, I wish one of y'all would have voted Brandon, and you're like, why didn't you bring that up?
Say something, yeah.
And I think I cut it out. He says, oh, I didn't think of it either.
Yeah, he didn't realize it until Tribal Council when you see his face going like,
yes, his face during that Tribal Council
was priceless.
Yeah,
for real though. That was the best.
You keep skipping ahead though.
I'm sorry.
We're talking about what were we talking about? This is where, you're lying to Justin and Toby about the idol.
I felt so bad.
I know.
Having to vote them out and not strategizing with them more. I don't, like, going back, I don't think I would have strategized with them more.
Because they weren't willing, Toby was good at the social part. Justin was good at some challenges early on.
And some strategy.
Not really, because he refused to talk to anyone from the other tribe. They would talk about, like, oh, I tried to talk to Justin. He's, like, totally stone-faced. He would just shut people down. He didn't know how to play that part of the game. He was too honest, maybe. And so you ask him in this episode, you say, are you going to go talk to anybody from that tribe?
Yeah, like, they were strategizing, and they wanted to bring me in. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, are you going to go talk to people to make this work? And then he was like, no, we're just going to,
it's like, what?
We're just going to talk during the tribal. And I was just,
really?
You could see my face being like, oh.
I know.
And that's great. That's when I was like, I can't work with these guys. Like, there's no point. We don't have the numbers. They're not thinking all that smart about how to. I appreciate their moves. Like, I appreciate that they were in a tough situation and that they had to do what they had to do. Desperate times, desperate measures. But yeah, it sucked. It sucked voting them out every single time.
Mm-hmm. As an observer, just being there and not, I wasn't behind the camera that often. And watching this tribal council where they're saying, I will give my jury vote to anyone who votes against Jazzy right now. I thought that was, like, really cool. And I was, like, loving that tribal, just being there watching it. I tried to make it come off that way in the edit, but because I had to show all the strategy talk, it didn't have the same impact. Like, it just came off as like, oh, womp womp, like, this isn't gonna work. What are they doing? So that was unfortunate. But without having seen any of the strategy talk like I had, it seemed way cooler and way more exciting when they were like, yeah, we're going to give you our jury votes. All you have to do is vote out Jazzy, Yeah. So that was supposed to be they were trying to make a 3-3-3 tie. They thought the three of you would vote for one of them, didn't matter who. The three women were voting you, Becky, and the three men were voting Toby. And before tribal council, you spoke with Becca. Mm-hmm. Brandon was there too. I cut him out of the shot because I didn't want it to be obvious. Mm-hmm. But Becca said...
Wait, Brandon was there too?
He was there too. He was standing on the other side of you. Wait till you hear this. So this ends up being shown in episode 10. That it's right before tribal. Becca, you say, what's going on? Who are you guys voting for? And Becca says, we're voting for Toby. She didn't vote for Toby.
No, she didn't.
But
she voted for me.
She told you the truth that because they thought it was going to be a 3-way tie, it would just be 3 people eligible to vote, and then all 6 of them would vote for Toby. That was their plan. Mm-hmm. So she said, we're voting Toby. She wanted, at that point, she was desperate. She knew she was on the bottom. Mm-hmm. She wanted to try to pull you in. And that was a great thing she did.
Yeah.
How smart.
She wasn't necessarily thinking that I would vote for Tony. She was just...
Toby,
excuse me.
Yeah.
She was just trying to make that bond with me of like, I'm not voting for you, I'm voting for Toby.
Yeah, so Brandon's standing there, and he's right next to you, and he's kind of like looking away, and like he does not feel comfortable with this conversation at all. You say thank you, and then I cut it right there. At that point, you look at Brandon, you say, thank you, both of you. So I cut that part out. Brandon looks really uncomfortable. And then you go vote, and you voted Toby, and there was no revote because you ruined it for them. Yeah. So then Becca does another great thing where she goes up and lies to everyone. Oh, I can't believe that just happened. Ooh, that was not the plan, was it? Yeah. So that was great. Good for her. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we're on to, now it's dusk at this point. It's getting late, and it's just about to turn really, really dark. And you're going into what Liza had intended to be an all-night immunity challenge. What's it called? Endurance challenge.
All night. Oh my God.
She thought that this was going to go hours, but the problem was they didn't use nice, like, 2x4s or anything. They used tree trunks that were very tiny and very bumpy, and it was pretty much impossible to stand on. Now, you actually have pretty big feet for a woman. And
I do.
And you're like, oh yeah, you know what that means.
Wasn't going to go there, but...
And you... I'm not cutting that out either. But you actually didn't have a hard time at all. You were like... From what it looked like, everyone else, the 2 people, the 4 people actually tried. Brandon announced he was stepping down, even though he tried. Cameron just fell right off. I bet you have the same size shoe as Cameron. Anyway, I'm like staring, like, I think that's about right.
I am like an average man's shoe size. That's what I am.
But you were wearing socks, and I think took his
socks off. My socks.
Oh, you did too?
Barefoot. Yep.
Wow. So you just have really good balance.
I guess so.
You were in that very first immunity challenge where you're holding the tray with the
yeah, that's hand-eye coordination. I do have good hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, you were just so good at that.
I wasn't sure about, but
I mean, yeah, everyone else was wobbling and you weren't.
I had such low confidence in myself that I was like, I was like, I'm pretty sure Becca just threw that for me. Like, why would she do that?
Why would she do that? Makes no sense. I mean, maybe you thought because like she was on your side at this point.
Yeah. And I wasn't sure if Justin was really.
He didn't even try.
Oh, that's right.
He didn't take. He kept his shoes on, and he was immediately wanted to talk to Jazzy.
That's right, because Jazzy had said before it even started that she wanted to talk. So.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, good for her. She's so entertaining. You gotta love Jazzy.
She's an amazing person.
Yeah, she is.
Truly.
Okay, enough Jazzy love. It's like
never enough Jazzy
Forrest hate and Jazzy love.
Maybe a good episode for this podcast.
That's what I'll call it.
Sorry, a good title for this episode podcast.
Okay, so you win. I was so proud. I was taking pictures.
I was so proud. I couldn't believe it.
I posted it on Instagram like, Becky just won immunity in this stupid game where she's playing.
Stupid game.
Stupid game. So tribal council, what a wild tribal council that was.
Yeah.
All the whispering. Jazzy for sure was wanting to get Jess out, or Becca. Honestly, she was pointing to Becca the whole time. And I think I cut that part out because it would have been too confusing. Like because then she's like, let's vote out Jess. Which is, you know, she was worried about Becca because she was paranoid, but she was more worried about Jess because Jess had an idol too.
Yeah.
So she went with Jess. And then Justin. Like,
Jasmine and Justin were talking, you know, and talking about Jess. And you can see me in the video.
You look so uncomfortable.
Jasmine was talking to Justin, and I was like almost standing to the side, like, I don't want anything to do with this.
You were leaning
I was
back.
so worried that the blue tribe was going to think that, like, I don't know why, but yeah, I didn't want people to think that I was still trying to survive on the red, I guess. But I kind of regret that. I wish that I had like listened to that conversation more closely, and like solidified it with Jasmine.
Yeah.
Because if I had said like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
Then Justin probably would not have
thrown out
Jasmine's name after we had just talked with her.
What are you doing, bro? What are you doing? He could have stayed. She 100% was going to play her idol on him.
Yeah.
It would have been so epic. It would have been amazing.
I don't think it's hard to trust the blue tribe, you know, as a red member, and so I don't think he actually believed that she would do that.
No, he did not. And
you know, hindsight is 2020.
And you didn't trust her either. I mean,
not at all.
The way Jazzy spoke, they used the word shisty, and I think that's really actually appropriate. She did seem shisty all the time, even though she was 100% being genuine when she would go up to people early in that merge and say like, what's going on? Who are you guys wondering? She just came across as like shisty.
Anyone
like,
who's trying
why
to play
would you
the
trust
game
her?
and also isn't able to hide it as well is going to come across as shisty. That's just the way it is.
She couldn't hide that she was really strategic in playing the game. It was not possible for her to hide it. That's just not who she is. Yeah. She would have to really be a good actress to get away with it next time.
Something.
Yeah. Okay, so Justin gets voted out, and and as Jazzy says, he shoots himself in the foot.
Yes.
Yeah. So then you get to go back to the merge camp. You had never been there, and you saw their nice shelter. You built the fire.
Yep.
Touchy subject.
Yep. And that is where I bonded with Becca a little bit. It was that night that I already talked about.
Okay, so you spoke with her that night.
And we talked about recovery and stuff.
Sorry, yeah. Who else did you speak with that night?
We all pretty much went to bed like right away. It was Brandon, Cameron, Jazzy in the shelter. They, you know, they had made room for me, but I was like, you know what? Which was maybe a stupid move, but
yeah.
I was pretty sure that we were all just going to sleep. So I stayed up. I was like, how cool would it be to stay out by the fire, you know, and maybe actually stay warm because it was very cold that night. I think that was the night that we all had like frost on our sleeping bags.
Oh wow.
And I'm pretty sure we had frost. It was and so I slept by the fire and talked with Becca a little bit. We didn't really talk a whole lot of strategy. It was in the morning. Becca and Brandon were by the fire talking, and I believe that I went up to them and was like, "What are we doing?"
Well, that's what you said in your confessional. Yeah, that was episode 12. You say in your morning confessional that you woke up, Tony was passed out by the fire, and you walked up to them at the fire and had this conversation. About getting Jazzy out. And then drama ensues.
Yeah. It was such an exciting morning because it was like, you know, we made it past the merge. I have an idol.
Yeah.
I'm the last red member. Like, how can I get through this? I think Brandon's actually wanting to work with me. I bonded with Becca. Like, I was like, okay, let's go.
And not to jump ahead, but how amazing that you were smart enough to know this is the final 7. Of course they're not going to vote you out. Of course this is where they have to make a move on and start to eat their own. It's 7. This is the number where this happens. And so you didn't play your idol. How amazing.
Yeah, I wish I could say that that's exactly what I was thinking.
Tell us more.
I don't remember anything. Like we had just voted out Justin. And so, yeah, it was final 7. I believed the people that I was talking to that they were going to go for Jess. I don't remember.
Jazzy. You thought they were voting Jazzy.
Yes, that's what it was. Well, yeah, because she was okay, now I remember. Because Jess did get voted out, but we had all talked about Jazzy. And I trusted Brandon and Becca at that point. So, I mean, I don't know if that's smart or not, but it worked out.
Did you think Cam was in this? Because you would need 4 votes. So what did you think was going to happen here?
I honestly don't remember. Like,
okay.
I wish I could tell you. I do remember. Yeah, I thought if I remember correctly, I thought that Cameron was in on this.
Mm-hmm. But did you speak with him about it?
Yeah.
You did, and it was Jazzy, not
Gosh,
Jess.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know who I talked to him about.
He insists that he never said that. He insists that his whole thing, and this was shown, I showed it in episode 10, his confessional, where he's saying that he wants to get Jazzy paranoid, make her play her idol, but everyone votes for Jess instead, so then they get both idols out of the game.
See,
what he thought were the only 2 idols.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, he was using that as like, this will be great for me at the end because I always know where all the idols are. So I was like, no, you don't. Okay, yeah, I shouldn't make any confident statements because I don't remember anything.
Okay.
But I definitely remember feeling aligned with Cameron and feeling like he and I were working together on some level. But apparently, right before we went into Tribal, Brandon had said to me and Becca, I think, like, it's going to be Jess. And I thought that he said Jazzy. Like, I thought he was confirming that it was Jazzy because he didn't say anything to me. That's another thing, is that they didn't talk to me. Like,
well, that was like that was part of what thank God was on camera that we still had, was him telling you, like, we're not going to talk after the challenge.
Yeah.
We're talking right now. This is the plan. Let's do this plan.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Becca thought.
Mm-hmm.
So if she was there, Brandon and Cameron say she was there when they had this conversation. Jazzy says she was not there. She was doing a confessional. I believe that because from the footage that I can piece together, that is exactly what was happening. That they were having this conversation. Jess was going to the bathroom or doing a confessional. That was missing footage. And Becca was doing a confessional. Maybe you were in the bathroom. You were always in the bathroom. No, because I see you in the background of Becca's confessional. Yes. If you look in the backgrounds of the confessionals, Jazzy does hers first and then Becca. And they're sitting in the exact same spot. This is episode 12. And you can see you, Becky, walk with Jess, who was a camera operator, and all of her camera footage was missing. So you can see you doing this confessional. I wish we had it. I don't know what you were saying. I wish we could have seen it. It's gone forever. I guess it's not her fault, but she gave it to Nick, and I think he lost the SD card. So you see that, and then Becca's doing her confessional, and you're still there in the background. I might have cropped you out of the shot at that point, but I'm not sure. Maybe, if you go back and look, maybe you can see you behind Becca over there in the corner. So you're gone, Becca's gone. That's when they have this conversation where Jazzy's like, I don't think we should get rid of Becky. Let's get rid of Jess. Yeah. Which honestly may have actually saved you.
Absolutely. Like I said, seeing this stuff behind the scenes that I didn't know about, I was like, thank you, Jazzy. Like, if it hadn't been for her saying that, who knows? I may have had to play my idol. No, I don't think
you wouldn't have played your idol.
I would have gone home with it.
So Brandon passes by you and whispers Jess, which, if you're whispering, that looks a lot like Jazz. Which is what people were calling Jazzy, Jazz.
Yeah, Jazzy.
Yeah.
It was literally as he was walking by me, so I couldn't get any clarification. Although I did say Jazzy. Like, I'm pretty sure that I said Jazzy, and he just kept walking, nodding his head.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's why you're so insistent that no, you said Jasmine.
Yeah, because I believe that I said it back to you.
Right.
But he was walking away, so who knows?
And Cameron insists that he at some point told Becca, but again, if that's something you're saying in front of Jazzy, Becca is already on this plan that this is what we're doing no matter what. We're not going to talk after the challenge.
Yeah.
So of course she votes for Jazzy, because that's what she thinks is happening based on the morning conversation. And she's so angry because they didn't follow through with that. Like, that's where the trust lies, is in that morning conversation. If the plan changes, she's not going to trust you. So at that point, Cam says she has screwed herself. Really, Cam has screwed himself because
Becca was a person that he could trust? Or
that's who he wanted to bring to the final three.
After that vote where Jess got voted out and both Becca and I thought that we had been lied to, we were so mad. Like, she and I don't think this was put on camera. Or I think the footage was lost, or it wasn't put on camera at all. But she and I afterwards were just like, what do we do? Like, we were frantic. We were we were angry. We were frantic. We were like, we were wrapped up in the moment of like, oh my God, they just lied to us, and it's just you and me now. And then
Becca and Becky against the world.
Exactly. It was like, we gotta stick together because and also we had no chance. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, I have the fucking idol. Right. So like, how can we use this, Becca and I, to get further?
And you never told her about it.
I had not told her about it. So like, when I showed it to Tony,
that's
the
her
first time that she knew that I had it.
Yeah, when you go off, is some footage, but you can barely hear it, and you're apologizing. You're like, I'm sorry that I didn't show that to you first. Yeah. And she's like, it's okay, it's fine, it's totally fine.
Oh.
So you make this play where you think, and it's so hard to watch. Like, it's so amazing to watch, but then when the outcome happens, it's so hard. It's like, oh, it could have been so amazing. It could have been Becca, Becky, Tony in a final three.
God, that would have been great.
How amazing. How amazing. Yeah. So
and there would have been so much blue on the tribe if that had happened.
What do you mean? Oh, you mean on the jury?
Like, Tony or Becca could have had a good chance to win.
Oh, I think Becca totally could have won.
Absolutely.
Tony probably would have got a vote or two.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of what I'm insinuating is like, I think Tony made a mistake there.
You think? Well, I mean, my God, what a he was so loyal to Cam
that
he was
blinded
blinded to anything else. All he cared about was making it far, and he thought that he could, maybe if he makes it to final three with Cam, then he could make a good speech at the end. Mm-hmm. But I don't think a good speech is going to get you votes. I think you need to actually make a move. You need to make a move,
and that would have been an amazing move.
That would have been his move.
Absolutely.
That he could have claimed full responsibility for that, even though it was you guys.
Because we were the ones who were desperate and coming to him,
Right.
And he could have framed it in that way. Yeah. If it had just worked out.
Right. I mean, well, it could have, but okay, so so nobody thinks first of all, you guys are like, there's no way Jazzy's gonna play her idol. She had immunity. Mm-hmm. There's no way she's gonna play her idol because that would be stupid. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Then you had no idea, of course, about all this loyalty to Cam that was going on. Tony was loyal to Cam.
Idea.
Jazzy was loyal to Cam because Cam was the one who knew about her idol from the very first day. Mm-hmm. And you guys talk about this is so great. Jazzy found that idol day one before the very first tribal council ever and held on to it the whole time.
It's so impressive.
With all that paranoia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Every tribal, before it in her confessional, she's like, I think I'm going to play it today.
Every time.
And then she didn't. Time. She's badass. No doubt about it.
Right? Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, of course, she plays it, and she is pretty sure that you guys are going to, you and the Becks, as I'm calling you, are going to try to get Cameron out.
Yeah.
And she only plays it because you play yours first.
Exactly.
And you needed to. No, did you? Was it 3-3? This is final 6. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you probably needed to. Because it would have been a tie between you and Cam. No idols can be played at that point.
But like with my deal with Tony, I thought that it was going to be majority me. So I did feel like I had to play it at that point because I thought everyone was going to be voting for me.
You didn't realize that Brandon was going to be voting with you and Becca, which he did.
Yeah, in my mind, he was kind of a wild card.
Yeah, that makes sense because you didn't trust him.
Yeah, I loved him, but like I didn't necessarily think that he was 100% in with me, so I couldn't trust him.
That makes total sense. But you also didn't vote for him. Because Tony's convinced that Jazzy and
because
Brandon,
I liked him and I thought that I had a better chance of working with him than Cameron. And
True.
I also thought Cameron was the bigger threat
yeah,
because he's
from the outsider perspective, he was
visibly he's more strategic and
visibly
like well spoken and charming. Like I said that many times.
He's so charming.
He is like he's very confident in himself, and for some people that's a very attractive thing. And will you cut that out?
For some people, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, he's very confident in himself, and he's really good with words, and so I knew that he was a big threat.
So when you in your last confessional talk about you hadn't thought things all the way through, this is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That one of you
I had no idea that the travel could go this way.
Right. That if just one of you had voted for Brandon, if you had just told Tony, we're voting for Brandon.
Yeah.
Anything. It would have just been, well, Brandon would have gone home.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been good for you, really, either, because Tony's still going to stay loyal to Cameron. You still don't have an idol, and you have no way of getting to Final Three.
Yeah.
Unless you win the fire challenge, which, who knows? That was all a number draw.
Yeah. Can we talk real talk, potentially off mic?
Sure.
If I had not shown Tony my idol, but had somehow known that they were all going to vote for me, could I have just played it on myself and then chosen who was going to go home? Like, do you think it would have worked out that way?
No, it would not, because Jazzy was going to play her idol if you played it.
That's true.
There's no way that you
You're
play
right.
the idol and then Jazzy doesn't. There's just no way.
Yeah, but she wouldn't have any idea.
But you still would have voted for Cam.
Yeah, that you're right, because Jazzy had. Okay, back on the record.
Well, I'm going to keep that in because this is interesting. So who would you have voted for, do you think, in that situation?
I don't know. I have no idea. Because there was Tony, Cameron.
I guess you could have voted for Tony, knowing that he's the GOAT everybody wants to take to the end. Did you know that? You must have known that.
Of course I did.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it was Toby and Justin that had no clue about that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I think
Because Becca was going to vote for Cam.
Yeah.
Brandon was going to vote for Cam.
Yeah. So either way, Jasmine would have played her idol.
But if you had voted for Tony or Brandon, one of them goes home.
Yeah. But I was so fixated on getting Cameron out because I knew he was the biggest threat. And I was so sick of people not voting out the biggest threats.
Yes.
It's like, dude, we can't win against him.
Yep.
So, yeah. I think I had my mind set on that. So
if you had voted Tony...
and played my idol without showing anyone.
It doesn't matter if you show anyone. If you had voted Tony, period. If you had voted Tony no matter what and played your idol, Tony goes home and nobody gives Cam wood in that fire challenge.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, so it fucked me over in a lot of different ways.
I mean,
oh well.
Yeah. Fucking Tony.
Yeah, fucking Tony.
Your lovable self, Tony. Okay, so, gosh, I mean, we're basically at the end here. What else do you have to say? I mean, that was a wild tribal council. Anything else to say about that?
No, I wasn't that well versed with rock talk, like
rock talk,
rock drawing talk.
But you got
so
it
like
quickly.
I was so yeah, it was all just a big surprise. It was like
I don't think you realized that after a tie vote, if there are no idols played, that no idols can be played after that either.
Yeah, I did not.
Yeah,
realize that because I think I was recorded saying like she could play it in the second round of votes.
Yeah, no, that's
you
not.
Cannot.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, not much to say about that. Just going back to this past episode of me getting voted out and the challenge. I think earlier in the podcast, just now, we had talked about the log splitting, and then going and making fire.
You wanted to talk more about your anger.
That's right.
And then we'll wrap it up.
Oh my god! So
when Tony says, "Can I give my wood to Cameron?" and Liza pauses. Before that,
listen. In the episode, you hear Nick being like, "Hey, Liza, can they scavenge for wood?" She says no. Like. Just totally.
It's not Nick. Yeah. Somebody I think it actually might have been Sarah. She says, "Oh, if they run out of wood, can they go scavenge?" Maybe it was Sam,
she said no.
Camera person Sam, and she said, "No. When they run out of wood, that's it. You hear her on
yes.
Yeah.
And then someone says, "Can I give Cameron my wood?" And she's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And
she pauses.
and you
like
heard me
she's
being like,
thinking
"Please say
about it.
no."
Yeah.
And when she said that, like, that's when I knew I was fucked, because I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
I saw
you
red.
can't change the rules.
In that moment,
I saw red as
yeah.
well. Like, and like, no, like, I was so angry at Liza at that time. No, no disrespect to her. As the host and producer of the show, she has to like make decisions on the spot like that. But like, I thought it was completely unfair. But like, whatever, the game of Survivor is not fair.
It is not fair in any way.
It's rigged in a lot of ways.
The game is rigged. The game is flawed.
But I was so angry, and that just like further, like, it felt like she was pushing my face in the mud at that point, because it was just fucking me over. I could not believe it. I was so angry, and I felt hopeless, and then I cried a whole bunch. Which, looking back on it, like, even in that moment, I was like, why am I crying? Like,
I know.
I'm so dramatic.
No, but I mean, like,
I was tired. I was hungry.
you hadn't had food in 4 days.
That was like it's just constant stimulation of like excitement and disappointment and not being able to trust anybody. Like, halfway through this game, like the second day, I wanted to go home, because it was so difficult to not be able to trust anybody. And I wanted to make bonds with people, but and I think I tried. I think I was one of the not more talkative people, but I think I was able to connect with more people.
Yeah, you were.
I wish I had just talked a little more. I was able to connect with people, but I wish I had talked a little more. But whatever. It was very sad. Getting voted out and feeling that hopelessness, but it's a game, and and how cool of a game was that? And I'm just so grateful that I made it that far, and I got an idol, I won an immunity, like all the things you want.
You did everything.
All the things you want, I got to strategize, I got to try to make a big move with Tony, and
that was another great thing. Last thing, episode 12, you had been just, all of you, mad scrambling. You had just had that conversation with Tony, showed him your idol, and you all get back together ready to walk into tribal council, and you just there's this pause, and you just look at everyone, and you're like, guys, this is so much fun. Yeah. And then everyone laughs, and you do a group hug.
Yeah.
Oh, how cute.
It's true. Like, we were also mad, and we were just like feeling these feelings, and then I was just like, I don't dislike these people, and like, oh my god, we're having so much fun, like, because we had just like, we all love Survivor, and we were all just like scrambling and strategizing and trying to make things work, and it was just like, oh my god, like,
we're playing Survivor.
We're playing Survivor. Like, it just dawned on me, like we were in it completely, and the tensions were definitely high. So I was like,
you broke that tension.
I tried to break that tension of just like, this is a game, guys, like, no hard feelings whatsoever. It was good.
It was a good moment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Becky.
Okay.
We just went through your whole game.
Wow.
What do you think is going to happen next? Just kidding.
I have no idea. I can't wait to see the next episode, because I don't remember anything. I'm just kidding. I am excited to see the next episode, though, because there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff I didn't see, and it'll be interesting to see what my reasoning was for choosing the voting for the person that I voted for.
I haven't actually watched the challenge yet. I was hanging out in Ponderosa with all the jury members when they played the challenge, because I was so mad about
the challenge. I didn't see it. Yeah, because I was on the jury, so I'm really excited to see that. See what that challenge is all about.
Clearly, I'm behind in my editing. It's today is April 24th, and I have 2 weeks to get episode 14 finished. I'm just finishing up the music for episode 13 that you just watched right now, and I have not begun episode 14, but I have kind of cataloged the footage.
I just want to give a shout out to you.
Nope, we're not doing that.
No, honestly, truly, like,
that.
People don't know the amount of time that you spend on this. Like, you work a full-time job, you have to deal with me and my constant need for attention. But like, you work like at least 3 hours a night after you work your full-time job. You work on the weekends. Like, you work so incredibly hard on this, and
It's
an amazing show. Like, you edited it so well, you produced it so well.
That's so
Any
nice.
praise that people give you, like, it's honest to God, like, sincere praise, because it's an awesome show.
I appreciate that.
Do not
All
cut
right.
this out.
All right, Becky. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope
as
we
well.
can talk again soon.
I hope so too. Is there going to be a reunion show by any chance?
Yes. Oh, guys, sneak peek. Woo! On May 23rd, we will be recording a reunion, a Zoom reunion of sorts.
Yes.
And then I will edit that and put it up on YouTube after the finale. I guess it'll probably happen in June.
Awesome.
So after the finale, a couple weeks later, you can watch the reunion show.
And we can finally talk about the last episode.
And everybody will have their say and their reactions to seeing themselves and all the stuff they didn't know about.
Yep.
I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I think so too.
Okay.
Yay. All right.
So-
Well, then I'll see you then, Taylor.
Remember, we are married and we live together.
Yes. So this is all a joke.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to the Surviving Maine podcast. Please subscribe to the Surviving Maine YouTube channel and stay tuned for the finale of Surviving Maine 2019 next week, May 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Woo, can't wait.